All right. Good evening, everybody. Oh, welcome to our class. We have Bob got to some people in character already. I love it. I love it. That's what we had everybody do in class. Is we had everybody come in character. And we said, hey, just bring your character. Some people would bring a cane. Maybe some people bring a hat. And some people like Sasha would paint their face. And one guy actually, like, he took the bus and he painted his face. And he came down to Santino Brothers. And we're in Bell Gardens, we're in East LA, and they see this guy walking with this green face paint. This is like, I think, a couple of years ago. His name is Jay, and I guess a couple of dudes from the neighborhood hit him up and say, "Hey, what are you doing, man? Like, why is your face painted? What are you doing here? Like, what are you doing in the neighborhood?" And man, he's like, "Hey, man, I go to the school," and he takes off his jacket, and he has a shirt that says Santino Brothers on it. And then he goes, "I go to the school right here." And they go, "Oh, all right, you go to Santino Brothers? All right, I've been to their shows. All right, you can go ahead." Like, they gave him a rite of passage or something. But I remember everybody came dressed up in gimmick, and everyone was. I was like, "What's going on?" And they were like, "Coach Kevin wants everyone to come in gimmick," and so everyone came really dressed up, ready to go, bringing their character, really showing who their personality is, or who their character is, because this is, I think personally, I think is sometimes the fun part in professional wrestling. Like, when I do the Voodoo Chaos, I'm not my. I feel like I'm not myself. I don't have to. I'm not trying to prove anything. And this is probably when I was doing it in my career. And I didn't know, like, does this Voodoo Chaos work? Is it silly? Is it stupid? Is it this, that, and the other? Um, and I always find people that watch Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and that's where I actually got an opportunity to do it most. And they loved it. They love the character, and I never got the feedback to see, like, was this character any good? I know I love it. I know it's some of my best work, but is it connecting with the crowd? Do they understand it? Do they think it's just crazy and hokey? Do they think it's this Doink the Clown, what I always refer to, all this era in pro wrestling with Mantar and Doink the Clown and Man Mountain Rock, that I really didn't like. But I think sometimes when you just let it come from your heart, let your character come from your heart, people really do dig it. Even if you don't get the feedback, keep throwing it at the wall, and don't make the mistake that I did and just kind of like, "Oh, I don't know if it is." I kind of put it on the shelf. And then once I cut my hair, there was no going back to Voodoo Chaos. Although I thought about making a mask with hair coming out of it to see if that would work. But I don't know. I've never tried it. But actually, Hyde got a chance. I think I told everyone got a chance to do the Voodoo Chaos, and people were like, "I thought Chaos was back," and they really like. And that's where I was getting a lot of the feedback, was when they thought I was back and I was actually Hyde. And they thought it was a really great character. And I actually talked to Hyde and said, "Hey, man, if you want to utilize it, maybe you're going to be Voodoo Hyde or something, But if it's something that you can utilize to get into the door, so that way you can do what your art is. Your art is either, it's Hyde, or it's Alan Travell. Is that the name? Or, you know what I mean? But sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get your foot in the door. And who knows, you may end up being the Undertaker with this Voodoo character. It's all about how you want to do it, and really putting your all into it, in any character you do. You might not like it. You might think it's the silliest thing in the world, but if you have an opportunity, uh, in anything you do, whether it's ring crew or anything, make the most out of it. You know what I mean? Put in the work, and you're doing the ring crew, or you're doing anything to pay dues, or doing this character just to pay dues, but you're also learning in the process. There's a lot of talk about paying dues. You can get into this business without putting up one ring. You don't have to help anybody out in this business, and you can get to the top. And that's the truth. And there's people that do it, but I think the journey people, the journey wrestlers, that love the independent aspect of it, um, it's a different journey, because I work with a guy named Damian Sandow, um, at Primetime Live, and he says, "I've never done the indies. I don't know anything about the independent wrestling scene." So he's doing this stuff with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and Primetime Live, and learning the indies now after he's had a good run at WWE. So there's always so much to learn, even if you've been to the big show, because as he comes down, he's trying to learn how the independents work, because it's a different story, and that's why I always push people to pay dues, not to just pay dues just because that's what you have to do. Understand what you're doing. I'm learning about rings. I used to be the guy, I don't know anything about a ring. I can't fix a ring now. If a ring goes down, like I'm always there. Hey, Hyde, come on, let's go. We got to go under. I don't know what's going to happen, but I understand what my ring can do and can't do. So let's figure out how to fix it, or camera people, maybe they, hey, we at Santino Brothers, we'll tell you, hey, we're going to give you a camera and you're going to film. And chances are you want to be part of the show rather than just, hey, we want you in the crowd just to cheer sometimes, or maybe just don't do anything, just watch how it operates, and you'd rather do something. Do it with everything that's in you. How you watch wrestling, watch the finders. They'll give you one or two or three or four pointers, and let you go film. Work the hard cam, whatever it is, but really paying those dues is not just to pay the dues to try to get to the next level, because you can't get to it without doing it. It's about learning, this business, and learning the ins and outs of how it works, because all of us may not end up being, I was supposed to be the rock superstar at WrestleMania, but if it doesn't end up like that, then I'm the wrestling school guy, because I love this business and I want to be part of it. And I'd rather be the wrestling school guy than to be out of it. You know what I mean? That's really where I'm at. So that's why I always encourage everybody to learn everything, because there might be something else that you find and love. Like, if you told me to wrestle now, I'd be like, I like producing, I like putting on shows, I like promoting, I like teaching more now than actually wrestling in front of crowds. Although it's there's nothing like it when you do it. There is a lot of pressure, on it. That's why I kind of take the step aside and I say, I'm not training as hard as everybody is, so they deserve the spots more than me. Even though I understand it's my company, and sometimes people they want to see chaos. They remember him from 20 years ago, whatever the case is. But I try to reward those that not only put in the work, but also put in the time and effort in training, right? So you could put up a ring all day and night, but if you don't fit the bill to get booked, probably not going to get booked. That's where you got to go back to the drawing board and figure out, okay, change my character, maybe change my wrestling style, whatever it is. Because I'm not a believer in just because you help out all the time, you deserve a spot. I know there's some companies that do that. You help out all the time, you deserve a spot. You earn a spot because you're the best person for it. And that's the truth. And people will come and go, and people will be angry at me because of that stuff. But it's about you really earning the spot. That's why I always say, hey, it's not about you helping out to get on a spot, right? You do that to learn the ins and out of pro wrestling and indie wrestling. So, but I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had some good food, got to speak to their family, whether it be in person or through Zoom or on the phone. I hope everybody was safe and had a great time. So without further ado, I know Bob has got a lot on this class today. We're going to continue with the character development. And then I know he's got a lot of feedback.
You're all in it for 4 hours tonight. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, it could be, right? It could be. Hey, you always go into it saying, I'll give him 20 minutes, right, Bob? And then that's 2 extra hours.
Listen, you give Bob a minute, he'll talk. Listen. How's everybody doing? Good. Right on, right on. Good weekend. Good weekend. I had a good weekend as well. Saw your promos. I know there's somebody here. I believe it is. Now I have to look again. There's somebody who just put in a promo like 8 minutes ago. That was like, I haven't seen yours yet. But yeah, I saw him, and woo, Improvement City. Telling you again, it takes, even though I don't know how much you've been practicing, I don't know how much you've been in the mirror, I don't know how much improv games you've been playing as far as stretching your imagination and just creating and creating and creating, but realistically, everybody just went up another notch, because again, you're taking, I can tell you're listening and taking the notes and taking the understanding of this to heart, because you could just tell there's some people that again just brought the fire and started to play with words, but getting some better wordplay. I didn't have as much of a struggle writing, half of the people that I was like, oh, this person needs a rewrite, or oh, that person, I wish they would have said it this way. There's very little of that. I was noticing a lot of that. I will go back after class and actually write notes, because because everybody was running late on it, and it's okay. I'm not mad. I just was like, oh, I don't have enough time to like sit on my iPad and actually like write these out. I was just scribbling things like, well, I'm doing my day job here at home. I was like, yeah, I'm totally working and taking phone calls and chats. Oh, all right, living Zed. Oh, wait, I get back to work, So I will absolutely follow up after class and do my own homework and write actual physical notes so you have it. You don't have to like remember what I said. But yeah, overall, everybody, I mean, again, I saw emotions. I saw, fire in people's eyes. You were looking at the camera. You were well lit. There was only a few people didn't have a really strong, powerful ending, or at least something that like could go out on. It was kind of like I think I'll just go out. I mean, there was only a few people that had that. I caught some new, amazing, fun, like phrases that I want people to like keep, because I was like, oh, that's a good line. I like that line. Do that, I believe it was Malcolm and Willie. You both did the ladies and gentlemen. So I would try to avoid that, only because obviously Paul Heyman has made ladies and gentlemen, and then of course go back to Road Dogg on DX, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. So it's really easy to get into Carnival Barker with ladies and gentlemen. That's just like a minor assignment for you guys and for anybody. Come up with a different way to say ladies and gentlemen, or to the world that's listening out there, or create another way to get the audience attention without law. That's like homework challenge for everybody. Figure out your own way to address the audience without relying on ladies and gentlemen, because that's realistically that's circus Carnival Barker. Ladies and gentlemen, gather around. It's easy to fall into that trap, and I've had to catch myself. That's why instead of ladies and gentlemen, I'm like, well, hello. It's just what I came up with. Well, hello is my, sort of a mild introduction. Well, hello, it's me, Halston Body, right? Instead of ladies and gentlemen, I'm Halston Body. So other than that, again, I'll go back and rewatch them and write more notes. Everybody, again, big thumbs up. Even in the last waking hours before school class, you guys did a really great job. So applause. Yes, good job. We have some stuff to get through tonight, so I will get right into it. We've talked about, we've tried to do all these emotion promos and different feelings and emotions, and just trying to get the emotion out of you, get the oomph, get the, as we said, come from the heart, speak from the mouth. So, now that you sort of are getting caught on to that, there's also ways to write your promos as long as you understand the storyline and it makes sense for what you're talking about. Like, it's different for Hollywood, because for Hollywood, there's a storyline going, and they already have promo ideas for their interstitials already written. So they're just giving you they're realistically like Nick and, Andy and whoever's writing the promo, Aaron, and they're writing the storyline. They basically just give you notes as to what you're talking about or what you're being asked by, like John Roberts. John Roberts here, we're talking with Heather Monroe and Alston Body about this upcoming match, or what Nico Marquez said, or whatever the action is. So as long as you get that direction from whoever you're performing with live or for a taping, when you're there, you'll get direction, and don't be afraid to ask too. That's the other thing too. A lot of, don't assume what's going on and just rattle off what you want. Absolutely ask the producers and the writers and the people who are like producing the show, what's my motivation? What am I talking about here? What is the scene setup that you have us working for? Now, if you're just cutting your promos for your indie show and you're just promoting it online and you're just putting it up on social media, talk with the booker and talk with the opponent and create the storyline, right? You don't want to just do blind promos against each other, because the the worst case scenario, you wake up in the morning and look at your Twitter and it's blowing up because the guy who you're going against or the girl you're going against is cutting some promo where they're reading you to filth and you had no idea that they're coming for your neck like that. Like, the best promos and the best language are communicating to your, trying at least. Now, sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes you just can't reach out and connect to the wrestler and figure out a scenario. At least make the effort to try and say, hey, I'm going to cut this promo. Here's what I'm going to talk about. Da, 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 da. Feel free to answer. I've never had a problem trying to make promos happen with people. It's never really hard to communicate with the person that you're going to actually wrestle against or be against or whatever your opponent is. So, and of course, if the promo isn't about them, like it's just like I did a Joey Ryan promo where Dom and I were just making a promo about how excited we were to find out who our next opponent was. So it wasn't anything to do with like, listen up, Joey Ryan, we're coming for you. It wasn't anything like that. It was just like, Dom, we have to get through this. And, we were just talking and it became like a scene promo versus like I'm calling you out promo. So there are different layers of promos that you can filter into how you're writing it. You can do call out promos, right? Where you're like, Kevin Owens, you've been dogging me for years and I'm padded. You're, at the next time I see you, you're finally, you better not be chicken and you better show up, that kind of like you're calling them out because you've had enough of their bullshit, But then there's like responsive promos where somebody's calling you out. You have to answer them. It's the call and response. I saw what you said about me on Twitter there, Hyde, listen. First of all, keep my name out of your mouth. Secondly, so that's why it's really important if you can communicate to the wrestler that, give me some meat on the bone to work with so I can talk about this. Or if you really, realistically, if you've wrestled this person plenty of times and you know them, you don't have to do that every time. You know what I mean? Like, I've worked with Heidi enough that I could absolutely talk about Auntie Heidi enough. I still might come to her and go, give me a character flaw or give me something that I can work with where I can be like, because the other thing is you don't want to cross a line, right? You don't want to be like I'm a fat dude. You can call me a fat ass all day. I don't get mad about it. I've dealt with my weight all my life. It's whatever. Great. You're just mad because I eat carbs. Listen, but at the end of the day, make sure when you're writing that promo, you're not crossing a line with them either, right? You're not just being like, you don't want to call somebody a bitch and they don't want to be called a bitch, that kind of thing. Like, just be communicative. That's the real big takeaway from that. You could do, there's introduction promos. Obviously, if you're new to let's say you're new to Ground Zero or you're new to Hollywood or you're new to D6 or wherever you decide to wrestle or wherever you find a place to wrestle eventually, I'm here for the first time and this is my introduction as to who I am. That's an introduction promo. So there's so many ways to write promos. It's, there's comedy promos too, just for entertainment. There's so many different things that can be done. There's also it's not just straight up promos where you have 15, 30, 60-second promos. There's also just taking interviews and having a mic put in your face based on a question or an action or what you're going to do. Now, obviously, that's the time where before that all happens or the show happens or whatever, you're very likely to discuss the conversation that's about to happen in the ring back and forth between the person and you, whether it's, a manager, a booker, or you're the general manager or whatever character is speaking to you live at a show. Or even if you just do if you're just doing a vignette, let's say it's internet wrestling, you're just doing vignettes and, hey, I'm backstage here with so-and-so, we're going to do this thing. You still have to understand the direction of the story and or what you're doing. So that's why it all full circle goes into why it's really important to start developing the emotions and how you react to things as a character, right? Goes back into how does your wrestler walk? How does your wrestler get into the ring? Do they you've seen so many different wrestlers have their own way of getting into the ring. Brock Lesnar jumps up onto the top of the thing and just gets in, right? Other people hop over the ropes. Other people, do sexy split moves. And, there's so many ways to get in the ring. How does your character get in the ring? How does your character react when somebody calls you out? There's the layers will start peeling off. If you can start thinking about those answers to those questions, that's going to start developing your character as far as like personality pieces and little slices of like, how would he react if they did this? How would she react if you did this to them? And you can start painting your own environment of who you are or what you would do. And even if it's like, I don't want to say even if it's fake, but even if that's like realistically, if a CC Chanel came up to me and like did one of these as a human being, again, I'm 300 pounds and I've been around. I can duke it out. Listen, for real, I wouldn't react like that. But Halston Body is, like scaredy cat a little bit, right? Oh God, get away from me, that kind of thing. So that's not real, but I know how to react to that way because it's just acting. It's like, oh, I got to put myself in that mind frame that I'm terrified of these people because that's my goal. Make them look bigger by, being like that Paul Bear kind of wince of like, oh, so there's that character trait. You have to disconnect and start piecing out how this character, you have to write the story for your character. You know what I mean? And it's piece by piece. It's not going to be congruent and in a straight line. You're going to figure out little things as you develop. I showed you guys the picture of myself from 3 years ago in the group room. 3 years ago, I didn't wear makeup. I didn't paint my nails. I mean, they're not painted right now, but I'm painting them for tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many layers you can layer in, and that's also going for the things you say, how you react, catchphrases that come, like, again, you might be gifted by somebody who has an idea for you in the locker room. Somebody might see your character and are like, I have such an idea for you. Hold on. You should do that. Like, now, not all the ideas are going to be great. I've been told things by wrestlers and I'm like, yeah, no, I mean, I totally see it. I get it. Doesn't mean you have to use it. They're not holding a receipt going, you better use this idea. Like, I mean, it's good to collect ideas because, again, what did I say before? You never know when it might work. May not work right then. You might not see the vision immediately of somebody's idea or, this, hey, you should do this thing. That happens all the time where people see your character, your energy, and they want to, like, the creative types especially. I'm guilty of it. I'll see an idea. I'll see somebody, I'll go, I feel like I want to see you do this. I don't know why. It's just something. And it's not for me to hold their feet to the fire about it. It's literally just as an idea of, like, I'm throwing this on the board for you to keep. I don't know if you'll ever use it, but I saw this. So, yeah, just keep those ideas in mind and start developing those ways. Like, again, if you wrote out for yourself an introduction promo and then you called somebody out and then you reacted to somebody and that, you could start figuring out the ways your character and your personality will come out in this. I'm already seeing it in a bunch of people. Bunch of characters in the class definitely have a set personality type. Did everybody do that? I saw a post. Did everybody do that personality type thing? The Myers-Briggs? No, yes. Most people, I think, are nodding their head. Did y'all learn anything about yourself? I see a few people nodding. I see some sort of shaking heads, a little half and half, right? Even if you take one thing away from it that you're like, oh, yeah, that is me. Reflection in the mirror. Look at me. I do act like that. Or I do, oh, yeah, I do value that or whatever. Take that to heart because, again, it could play into an aspect of your character, right? Wears their heart on their sleeve or, has jealous tendencies or whatever. There's so many personality facets and traits that people have, and they're all around you in human nature and human life. You don't have to study TV and movies and characters to do that. The guy you work with, the girl you work with has weird personality traits that you're like, why do they always act like that or do that? Or why do they, that person always makes their coffee funny or what, you know what I mean? There's so many, you can just watch humans and pick up little weird personality things that people do, little tics, little, the way they react to stuff. Go on TikTok for an hour. You're going to see all sorts of weird reactions and faces and like, I mean, it's everywhere. So yeah. This is gonna. I'm gonna go to the next thing. This is gonna play more into live mic stuff. I mean, obviously, if you're doing social media promos and you're filming it, you can take 100 takes and no one's gonna know that you finally nailed it after take number 78. But when you're live, there's some pro tips that help you not stumble or get lost in your head. Okay. One is do the improv thing for yourself. Yes, and, right? The minute you stop or the minute you stop yourself, that's when you hit a wall usually, right? Because what do people usually say when they get stuck? Crap, I forgot where I was. Where was I? Right? There's so many ways and tricks out of that so that even if you do get absolutely brain fried, you have this promo written in your head, you were walking backstage in the locker room all afternoon, all evening, making sure you knew the notes. You're going to hit those notes, right? You're going to come out there and say, listen, I've had enough of this, and I'm going to do this, and that person better do this, otherwise I'm going to do this. And you get in the ring, music hits, da-da-da, you walk out, and the person in the ring with the mic, and you go, listen, I'm going to do this. Damn it, where was I, right? You forget because your brain farts. It happens, right? The way to get around that is improvising it. Because it's a big keynote, and this came from my comedy training. No one knows the punchline. No one knows your joke unless they're a pure fan and have seen you 100 times and they're like, you're on HBO specials and you're doing the same routine as a touring comic and everybody can sing along with the hits because they know your comedy routines. Nobody knows exactly what you're going to say. So the way around that is play upon it until the thought gets back into your head. I mean, if you're a heel, you can blame the person standing next to you for distracting them. You can look at the audience when we have audiences again. Shut up over there. You're making me lose my train of thought. Like, don't let them see you sweat. Act like you should be forgetting what you're saying. Like, own it. Because the minute you start going, we all know that audience is gonna, oh, you fucked up or whatever they're gonna, you know what I mean? They're gonna know because wrestling fans have seen a million promos. Wrestling fans have seen a million people talk in the ring, and the minute somebody starts stutter stepping and forgetting their lines, they don't even know the lines, but you can just sort of tell someone's like, right? But if you just flow and you just take a moment, Ric Flair was king of that, right? He would just look at the guy next to you, nice haircut, Jack. Like he would distract himself to make it look like he's not forgetting his lines and he's saying something else to get, where was I? Right. Listen, I mean, like, because he would remember it halfway through what he was going to say and then suddenly go back to it. People do that all the time. You can just change the conversation so that you're allowed to take a moment and try to get back on track. The biggest thing that you do too is remember go with that principle. As long as you remember the beginning and the ending, that's what people are going to remember. If you can get to the ending, the middle might not matter, even if you do kind of mess it up a little bit, right? Fear less about try until you get to WWE, because WWE, Jake Atlas said, he was in here, in a in the last class, he said in WWE, you literally have to say exactly what they give you script wise. You're not just out there riffing, right? Unless you're Vince's right-hand man and he's giving you freedom on that mic because he trusts you, you are absolutely given a script that you have to hit the lines. But in indie world, it's really like as long as the message hits home and it makes sense and you don't sound like an idiot, there's nobody going to be like critiquing you out. obviously, if you're taking too much time, that's the biggest thing with indie shows. You got 30 seconds to get out there and say something. You got a minute, right? Because you don't want an indie show to go on for 4 hours. It's not WrestleMania. So you got to tighten up those promos, especially for indie shows, because they don't have the luxury of just by hour 3 and hour 4, the people are half asleep in their chairs and they don't care about the main event, right? You got to keep it tight. So that's a big thing. Also, there's a thing about, because how many people have seen hecklers and or the crowd get in the way of a promo? We've all seen it, right? Now, Jericho is great at shutting the crowd up, right? He's quiet, 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 right? He would just take over. And even, in fact, like he called him out at several times, like, you're not taking over this show, shut up, like that kind of thing. It never has to get that abusive or abrasive. I want to say 10 times out of 10, the person that's trying to heckle, because I was a comedian, the hecklers are like, it's like this thing they have. It's this weird science where they want to be part of the show somehow, but they don't want to actually be on stage, right? They somehow want to make that, they have something to say and they got to get it off their chest. Now, whether you want to blame it on narcissism, ego, attention, horror, whatever it is, there's always those people that feel they got to get involved. Now, if it's just crowd chanting, that's fun. But if somebody's just being that thing, try your best not to let them run the mic or run the show. At the end of the day, you can always do, one of my favorite heckle-backs was where I was like, I'm sorry, I have a spotlight, I have the microphone, and I'm stage at least 3 feet above you, but you clearly have something to say over there. What you got? But like, you can just put the spotlight on them. Half the time they'll shut up because they didn't want that much of a spotlight. They just wanted to get their dig in or whatever they wanted to throw out there to see if you'd notice and rattle you. But as long as you can keep it tight and remember, you're the one with the microphone. No matter what, you're always going to be louder than that one person who's being a jerk in the front row or the second row, right? Scientifically, like realistically, you will always be louder as long as you have a mic. So that will hopefully take away some sort of fear of letting some heckler get at you. Ground Zero, there was this famous lady who, hi, do you remember the lady who used to, yeah, Hyde knows. I can't remember, I'm blanking on her name. But either way, there was this lovely older black lady who, her husband and her are the sweetest wrestling fans in the world. And she was loud. And it was comically loud. Like where the audience was getting in on it, comic, like they were laughing about it. Because she was like, Andy Brown, you better shut up. Like she would get on you. Like she was like the purse swinging grandma type. Like, where she was going to come after you if you got too close to her. Well, realistically, she really wasn't going to come after you. Like, you could just tell she wasn't really like, if you come near me, I'm going to swing at you. She was behaved, but she was so passionate, and it was so funny that you could get away with taunting her, or at least like, you shut up over there, that kind of thing, because she would give it back to you in an entertaining way that would not distract from the show. And the other thing is too, you got to limit that. You just can't keep giving her the attention. One good one is funny, but if you just keep going back to it, then it becomes the fan just took over the wrestling match. Nobody cares about the match. It's just become the crowd work show. So try to avoid that. Like, it's fun to do it at least once. Like Andy Brown was king of like making good face. Ray Rosas, they would always like poke with her, and it was funny. But you got to focus on the match, right? But sometimes that crowd, you never know. This is what I say when I talk about like pointing at the crowd or even addressing her, looking at the crowd or looking at somebody in the crowd. It's like, oh, they're on me. Oh, spotlight's on me. Wow, right? So you have a lot of control when you're on that mic and when you're in that ring. Don't let the cameras and the lights scare you. Don't let it intimidate you. I know we all talk about, right. We all talk about public speaking being one, like, other than death, being like the second biggest fear that humans have is public speaking. If you can get over that fear, no matter what it takes, whether you have to practice with your family and speak in front of them and get to gather them in the living room as if they're a crowd, whether you have to gather a Zoom like this and pretend that you're addressing the crowd, however you have to get rid of that, oh no, actually people are going to be watching this. That those nerves start, you get sweaty palms, right? Oh God, I have to talk. Oh, that microphone's getting sweaty. I better, right? Figure out how you have to overcome that, because it's going to be it's going to be one of your biggest tools, other than those who are wrestling your body, right? But, bodies can only go so far. We got to have you talk. We got to have you connect to the fans and be a personality and cut promos. So I don't know, whatever it will take for you to overcome that biggest roller coaster hill of, can I actually do this in front of a crowd? Until COVID goes away, we might not be able to know what kind of crowd you can do that in front of. But in the meantime, practice where you can. Again, be creative with it. If you actually are quarantined and you have 5 people in the household and you need to do it, choke down and be like, listen, everybody, I need to do this. I need practice. Sit over here on the couch and I'm going to cut a promo in front of you, right? And just do it. Even if they heckle you, do it. Just get it out of your system, because once you actually do it, once you actually show up and stand in a ring and have a microphone in your hand, you won't be as like, oh God, this is my first time doing this. I don't know how to feel, right? A lot of that is just, it's almost like doing it once is the worst part. So it's like what I talked to Matt Wall about when he felt really awkward and weird about just talking about himself. The best benefit and the best part of it is now he's done it. He's gotten through it, right? He's not suffering, wondering what it's going to feel like, or, oh God, I've never done that before. Sometimes pulling out that thorn the first time is really important. You know what I mean? So make sure to breathe and slow down, especially when talking on a mic in public. We can, do videos. We can, talk fast. You can get through them. But again, when you're in front of a crowd, you have to pace yourself in a way they can digest what you're saying. If you just you're going to lose them real fast. You got to give it pacing. You have to let a crowd digest. There's sometimes where, this is maybe only applied to arena stadiums. Sometimes that person's saying something and the volume hasn't hit you yet. You just haven't heard it yet. And they're already moving on to the next thing. So you're hearing this echo. You got to be very aware of that. One other pro tip too, don't be afraid. If you can, ask the sound people at a show if you can just grab the mic and test it out. Meaning hey, can I just grab the mic and see what it sounds like, or what I'm hearing, so that I'm not, coming out and being hit with a wall of sound or a wall of echo because I didn't know how they set up the sound out here, or what it's actually going to sound like when I'm standing in the ring. Is it going to be weird? Am I going to hear myself? They don't have monitors, it's not like there's monitors like they used to do. Do you remember those old Raw episodes where you saw monitors in the corners of the ring because there's somebody coming out with a mic? That doesn't exist anymore. Nobody has in-ring. They're not singing, right? I feel like Elias might be having a monitor because he has long hair, and he might have a little small in-ear monitor just so he can make sure he can hear himself sing. But other than that, there's no way to know unless you actually test it out. So don't be afraid, because it'll save you from embarrassment when you're like, where's the mic? How do I, who, what? Ask, if you're doing a live show, ask where the mic's going to be. It seems like a weird, why would I need to do that? There should be somebody in charge of that. You'd be surprised because there's a lot of people thinking of a lot of things. Sometimes they don't think of that. Should I have the mic coming out from the back, or should I go to the announcer table, get the mic? Will the mic be in the ring? How many mics are there? Who's going to have them? I know it seems like well, why wouldn't they think of that? Sometimes they don't. You got to think about that for them sometimes, especially if you want smooth transitions of speaking. If they see you fumbling about who's got a mic and where, give me a mic and right? Unless it's heel work and you're just like, give me a damn mic, like, and you're yelling at it or you're trying to get it. Make sure you set yourself up for success by knowing when you're going to get the mic or where it's coming from, or if you have it already. It's so minor, but it's so important because, again, you don't want it to look awkward and weird because where's my mic? Where's my mic? Right? That doesn't always happen. You should be prepared because you know what you're saying and you know you're going to come out there and say a thing. So unless you're doing those like crazy interruptuses where you just jump out from the crowd and you're like, give me a mic. I got something to say. If you're coming from the back, usually you're part of the program. So they know that you need to speak. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind. Let's see here. Oh yeah. When you're doing live or even if you're doing TV tape, just make sure, again, this is coming into that, make sure you have a go home line. It doesn't have to be that prophetic, if you smell what the rock is cooking. You don't have to trademark your end line, but always like at least have two outros. So you don't land, you don't walk out on a thud. Did anybody watch, again, there was this clip that got passed around this past weekend of all these promos that were awkwardly sexual. Like, it was this weird, like, it was a montage of like 5 minutes of clips from all the old school wrestlers who clearly were not scripted. And they were just talking on their own. Like the first one, it was like Brock Lesnar backstage. And he's like, Seth Rollins, I'm coming for you. And I'm coming hard. And then he walks away and you're like, what? It's just really like, phrasing, like, it's so weird. And they do this whole montage. I'll have to share in the group. And literally it was passed on by the FSW Sin Bodhi group in Vegas because they're like, this is why we practice promos, kids. There's a string of just terrible promos. One of the most famous ones where it's like Hawk and Animal, and it's Hawk and Animal, and it's like old school WCW NWA, with the blue background. And I mean, no joke and no shame, Hawk was clearly coked out of his head, or at least revved up and pumped up, and he was screaming about Ric Flair. And the way he talked about his promo, it basically sounded like he was basically going to penetrate Ric Flair. And it was like, wait, what? For what words? What are you saying there, Hawk? You might want to dial back and listen to yourself. What did you just say? So you got to be really careful about that. Make sure your outro is very just like, and it doesn't have to be that catchphrasey level. Just make sure you know how to end it, right? I'm trying to think of like something, think of a period statement that would be like, because I'm this or because I'm that. And it just has to make sense. If you just leave on because I'm going to give you a pile driver, and then you walk off. What? Okay, that's it? You're not going to give us an ending to that whole theme you just talked about? So, yeah, think about those things. They're very important. We talked about this a little bit too. Dealing with your character. We talked about relationships and making sure you understand the relationship between you and the opponent, and why you're there and why you're fighting them and what's the story behind that. It's not just exhibition. You're not just like, well, Davey Boy Smith Jr., I'm going to wrestle you on Tuesday because I have nothing better to do. And you were available. Let's have a fight. Like, that's not, unless your character is that type where he just wanders into the room and who's here to fight? Like, I'm here to fight. I'm Fit Finley, right? I came to fight. Usually there's a story or reason, or even if there isn't a backstory, it's a challenge. The story is, this is a challenge, right? Slice Boogie's going against Davey Boy Smith Jr. on Primetime Live. They've never met each other. Slice Boogie's, still year two, going on year 3, maybe. No, he's going on year 2. Yeah, year 2, and he's going against Davey Boy Smith Jr. So it's this, you can already paint the storyline for yourself. Young brash rookie going against somebody who's seasoned, and it's David versus Goliath in that sort of like experience level. So there's the angle, is like experience and know-how. And Slice Boogie, I don't know if you saw his promo he was cutting, because he's out in New York right now. Fire promo. He don't care. Like his character. I want you all to do your own personal homework. Watch Slice Boogie's promos. If you can find him on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, watch his promos. That guy you know his character immediately. You know exactly who he is, and he doesn't waver from it one bit. It's great. So yeah, you can write the story just by figuring out who this person is and what could you make out of the story. Again, not everybody's just there because I'm fighting you because you're in the room and they told me to. Somebody booked us, so we're fighting today. You create the story, right? And it's always on your character. Like Danny Limelight and Papa Esco, the Bodega Boys, right? They got chips on their shoulder. They got attitude. They're from, it's this Puerto Rican. Danny's from New York, so there's that layer in there, and it's all this like, what you got, son? Like it's all that very much like brash and very like in your face. You want some of this kind of bravado, which is great. And then they layer in their Puerto Rican backgrounds, and it just becomes like anybody who's Puerto Rican. If I were a Puerto Rican kid and I saw those two, I'd be like, I want action figures, right? I'd be like, oh, these guys are great. They represent me, and I love their attitude and his tattoos and whatever. You never know who you're going to tap into as far as an audience, so just keep that in mind as far as like understanding the relationships between the wrestlers. And again, that always goes back to square one. Get to know yourself as a character, because that way other people can work around that and figure it out. Like if I had to cut a promo against Hyde, and Hyde was going back to his crazy wild man character, Hyde, right? As Halston Body, I thought about it, like, well, how would I deal with Hyde? I'd be like, tame that animal. Won't you get him away from me? He's going to bite. You know what I mean? Like, I'd treat him like he was some rabid dog, right? Like, oh, God, he's coming near me. That kind of thing, because I know he's unhinged and he's crazy. But I would also be, like, as the comedic part of Halston Body, I'd be like, he's deranged. He's a lunatic, but I love his hair. You know what I mean? Like, that's the comic twist that Halston Body would throw in there. So, think about those relationships. Auntie Heidi. I've hung around with types like Auntie Heidi before. She doesn't scare me, but of course, then she would scare me. I'd be like, okay, maybe she scares me. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many ways around it. Matt Wall, I've seen his character. He's coming out, he's all big, crazy Mad Maxian monster type. Of course, but then I can also flip it. If the obvious thing was like, I'm not always scaredy cat. I could flip that personality type of Halston Body and play off Matt Wall and be like, oh, you big brute. You're one of those types that's all talk and, all grr and no, all sizzle and no steak. Like I can play on that. It just depends on the relationship, right? If I'm working with somebody, got to build up those characteristics. Yeah, he's crazy, and that's what I love about him. That kind of thing. Or is that crazy man in the room? Is he going to be, always looking over my shoulder, right? Is he here? Just play on those personality types. And the more personality you can work with and you can present and you can create, the easier it is for wrestlers and other characters to work with you. Because they can easily see what they can bite into and go, oh, I love the fact that you're this, or I love the fact that you act like this, or there's this part of your character that's this, attitude. So how do I go against that, or how do I work with that? All right. We talked about the insults and the zingers. Again, that's all talks into communicating with whoever you're wrestling. Try to find out things about them. Get to know your wrestler or your opponent or whoever you're talking about. Hey, doesn't hurt, right? Hey, even if you've never worked with them before, right? I've never worked with any one of you. So if I got to eventually, somehow, someday, work with somebody, I would absolutely come up to, a Rhea and go, Rhea, tell me something about you that I can possibly use to like get under your skin with, right? And then you would be like, oh, don't talk about my glasses. I'd be like, listen here, Four Eyes. You know what I mean? Like that, again, you're letting somebody insult you. But I can't just be up on Ray and be like, listen, you dumb long-haired hat wearing, like it's not roast time. It's not trying to kill him. It's not what we're playing. Unless, of course, Ray goes, why don't you just roast me? Just go ahead and roast me. She's letting me do it. You don't want to piss somebody off by going somewhere. It goes back into that whole communication thing. Does everybody or anybody know how to be passive aggressive? Right? Saying things without saying them. Right? Like here's like perfect example of passive aggressive. Hey, haven't you done, like, here's a conversation. Hey, why didn't you do the dishes? Well, I would have done the dishes, but somebody was a little late to dinner, and like talking around somebody without actually saying it, that's passive aggressive. Not saying exactly to the point, like, instead of saying, it's like I would be friends with Maxwell Nelson, but he never seems to call me. Huh, weird, huh? Funny how that works. That's passive aggressive. I'm not going, hey, Maxwell Nelson, you should fucking call me. Stop avoiding me. That's direct. Passive aggressive is talking around him, even though that's why you're like, I'm in the room, brother. Like, you don't have to talk around me. Like, that's passive aggressive. And it's so fun to play around with. You can just, it's like blaming things around you, even though you're the one that's doing it, that kind of thing. Because I could just cut the shit and call Maxwell Nelson. Why am I blaming him for not calling me? Phone works both ways, asshole. Like that, you know what I mean? So practice or learn how to do passive aggressiveness. Look up aggressive, passive. Like, there's ways to, say things without saying them. There's a skill to that. If you figure, again, it pisses a lot of people off. If people are passive aggressive to you, most people don't like that. Nobody likes to be talked about when it's like, I know you're talking about me. Listen, why don't you just come out and say it? Like, that's how arguments start out of time, right? Because the wife and the husband, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the boyfriend, whatever, they're not willing to communicate directly. So they're going to dance around it until you're like, all right, I've had it. I'm going to finally say it, right? So that's a skill that you can come up with when it comes to promos, and when it comes to personality types, or when it comes to being a heel. And passive aggressive is such, it's so asshole-ish. But it works, right? Let me look here. I'm going down the thing. Oh, here we go. Next. Any questions so far, by the way? Yes. Harakiri.
Hello?
You're here.
So I wanted to ask about when you were talking about speaking live, and let's say you mispronounce a word and you mispronounced the word. Like, what are like good ways to like recover from that?
Don't acknowledge it. Right? Own it. If the crowd starts getting on you, act like you don't know what they're talking about. That's how we say it in my country, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, own it. Right? Now, obviously, like, one of the biggest ones, you remember Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit? Chris Benoit, and or where Chris Jericho would say a boot, right? Because he's Canadian, so he'd go, a boot. I'm about this. Well, obviously people kind of like giggle and laughed at him, but again, he's Canadian. That's just kind of how they say things. So, again, this ties into the lesson that I said last time, which is, if you're going to use words, make sure you probably know what they mean. That's the first one. Don't try to use $5 words if you don't know what they mean, because there's usually a wordsmith in the crowd or backstage that will go, did you mean what you said there? Because I don't think you know what that word means. And two, if you're not sure how a word is pronounced or a name especially is pronounced, ask someone. There's no shame in asking what you don't know, right? Now, if you're naturally saying something and you say Mesoramia instead of WrestleMania, you know, you again, either own it or you know what I meant, shut up, right? Don't let it, what will happen is if you try to correct yourself too much or you try to like stumble on it and want to be perfect, what will happen is you'll trip and then you'll start snowballing. It'll roll down a hill faster than you wanted to. So just get past it and move on. Otherwise, you're allowing the crowd to hone in on it. Real talk, right? If it becomes a joke and everybody laughs about it and everybody's into it, right? Oh, you said, jack flaps instead of flapjacks. Listen, Jack Flap. It could turn into a thing. You never know, right? Sometimes the right word just falls out of your mouth and suddenly becomes a promo line and everyone laughs about it and it suddenly becomes, oh my God, you said the right thing. So I would say just do your best not to focus and hone in on it. Because again, you have to go back to that principle of nobody knows the script. So just own it, move on, and yes, and yourself. And it's what I meant to say. Be quiet out there. Or, come on, jack flaps. We serve those in Wisconsin. Jack flaps. You've never been to Wisconsin, have you? Right? There's so many ways to avoid wearing an egg on your face. Right? So yeah. Any other questions? Any other things? I love what Sage said in the chat about passive aggressiveness. You learn it as a mom. Yeah, I laughed out loud because I learned it from my mom. How to be passive aggressive. You kids, you're not going to be able, you would be outside right now if you learned how to clean up your room. It's like that kind of thing. It's dangling that carrot over somebody's head because they're not doing what you want them to do, or they said something that has caught it's in your head. And you're like, yeah, kind of like that one time you said this. Mom, queen of passive aggressiveness. Okay, so now that we've talked about emotions and promos and facial expressions and expressiveness to the camera, getting internalized your personality, getting those personality traits out and starting to deep dive further into them. I want to tell you all right now, after this class, don't stop doing that, right? Just because I'm not teaching you about it, just because we're not doing daily or weekly homework about it, don't stop navel gazing and don't stop putting those visions on the Pinterest board or whatever about yourself. It will continually layer in. There will be new layers that will arrive. There will be new things that pop out because you figure out something about yourself. Maybe one of your best friends needs to tell you something about yourself. Maybe you ask your mom or dad, Mom, what do I do that's weird? Ask yourself those questions. That's not because you want to be the most well-rounded personality and human being in the world, because you're so, so much about yourself. Always be learning. But it's great to start collecting those things for your bag of holding and just understanding this is what your character could be, or maybe it could go that way, that kind of a thing. So now that you've got all that, you've got that on those pots on the stove brewing, and they're starting to bubble, and you're really getting into figuring out your characters. Now it's time to stretch your environment, right? Matt Wall, and I believe Living Zed and Harakiri, and I'm pretty sure Rhea have been outside. Kristen had her hallway with her paintings and her drawings. Now when you're doing these online promos, or if you're doing promos for whatever you're doing, start stretching your imagination about where you can go and where you can do to paint the picture of where you're at. car promos, bedroom promos, living room promos, Venetian blinds behind your promos, Furio lamps in the back corner promos, bathroom promos. They're great for practice, obviously, for schoolwork and for homework. We're not looking for you to like do this most professional background and we have you on a stage with lighting and da 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 da. But now is that time to start looking around wherever you live, your neighborhood. Maybe take a drive 50 miles away to an ocean or something. Look for your own environments to create the atmosphere in which to believe you in, right? If Auntie Heidi is playing this, you know, European, Edwardian, you know, there's layers of witch and devil and goth and all of that in that salad of her character. Will you have the same feeling about that character? She's all dressed up and she's got her hat, she's got her makeup, she's got her gloves, and she's got her paintings or her doll or whatever she's carrying to make her character come alive. Are you going to believe her if you can tell she's in like a 1-bedroom apartment in Toluca Lake? Or would it be way more believable if she was like in a dimly lit alley with maybe some rain on some water on it's dark and misty and maybe it's a little foggy because she drove up to Port Hueneme and the fog's coming in off the ocean and she's standing by that dimly lit streetlight. Ooh, right? Start thinking about your character's environment. Think about where your character would never be caught dead in, right? Start painting that background and that picture for yourself. And even if it's not the exact environment that you would normally see someone in, right? Let's say Auntie Heidi's at the beach. Matt Wall is in the bathroom. If it's somewhere that's outside of the norm, maybe put that in your promo as to why you're there, right? Death Calhoun, you've caught me. I don't want to say you've caught me taking a dump, but at the same time, you're like, you could create a reason why you're in the bathroom. I'm in the bathroom because I'm going to be so loud and angry. I don't want anyone to hear me. I mean, there's, Auntie Heidi's at the beach. React that you're at the beach. I'm normally not out in the sun like this. It does damage to my skin. Like, right, you're right. I'm in the bathroom because you make me. Well, just written in the chat. I'm in the bathroom puking my guts because you make me sick. Right. So paint the world around you. Right. Also, start studying a little bit of geography. If you know that your wrestler is born and raised from Chicago and you've never been to Chicago and you only know about stereotypes of Chicago, maybe go online and study some Chicagoan things or ask the person that you're wrestling or talking a promo against. Tell me something about Chicago that you love. Give me a restaurant with a sandwich shop. Give me like paint the environment about the person or about where you're at, right? Like if we're wrestling at Ground Zero in San Diego, maybe I'm going to talk about San Diego in my promo. Like, you know what I'm going to do before our match? I'm going to go to the beach. You know that beach, Imperial Beach. Oh, it's gorgeous. There's so many, the slushy on the sand. You feel it. You feel that breeze. You feel that ocean. And when I'm done getting a gorgeous tan on that beach, I'm going to waltz right over to the arena. You know what I mean? Like, you're painting an environment. You're giving people a mental visual and painting a story in their head. Because if you it goes into that promo setting. If you can tell them a place, a person, a visual, if you create the story, right? If you create a visual and a story, it works. Yeah, Sage just popped in the cheap pop, right? I mean, it's always nice to hear your home city or the city that the promo is going to be in or the match is going to be in. But it also, realistically, you never really know who your audience is from or where they're from or what they relate to. So it might be fun to like put it out there that you're, you may be from Chicago. Slice Boogie is a perfect example. That dude is New York, New York, New York, New York, New York, New York. So New York. guess what? He's got a built-in audience, because if you're one of those people that loves New York and you're from New York and you miss New York and you love your New York, you're immediately halfway in the door with Slice Boogie, because you're like, oh, this guy's from New York. I get this guy, right? I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Halston Body doesn't necessarily fit the cheese-loving, Packer-loving, beer-drinking, sports and winter and, Yadder Hay of Wisconsin. So when people ask, where's Halston Body from? I'm from Xanadu, darlings. Where do you want me to be from? I'll be there. I don't really have an origin place as Halston Body, because it doesn't, again, I'm from Milwaukee. I'm from Wisconsin. Oh, you're a cheesehead. No. So Bob's from Milwaukee, right? I'm from Wisconsin. I love Wisconsin culture. I mean, come on, 26 years of my life living in Wisconsin. I can tell you the stories. Cheese curds and everything. However, Halston Body is an enigma. I'm from everywhere you want me to be. Been around the world, and I can't find where my luggage is. Where am I, right? I'm a world traveler. I may be a vagabond. I don't gigolo, all of it. I don't have a location. You don't need to know my origin story. You know what I mean? Like, that's also part of my character. Is like, who needs to know, right? Who's asking? I'm protective of my assets. I don't need to know everybody knowing my business. What do you need to know? You know what I mean? So create your origin story. I'm from I always put in like my Instagram, I'm from Xanadu, or I'm like in Xanadu right now. People are like, what's Xanadu? Wouldn't you like to know? I mean, create your world, create your environment. You don't always, if you're proud of your hometown and it fits your character, great. You're going to get a built-in audience. I mean, it's funny. Whenever I hear a wrestler is from Wisconsin, I mean, Kennedy, Otis, and even Austin Aries, they're all from Wisconsin. I see you, Wisconsin. I see you, Kennedy. I get you, Mr. Kennedy. I even talk to him like, you're from Green Bay? I have an uncle in Sturgeon Bay. I know you. Yeah. Come on, Packers. You really have a connection. It could be the worst wrestler in the world. I mean, I've heard all the stories about Austin Aries. I'm 50-50 on wanting to meet that guy. I'd be like, hey, Wisconsin. Because you may be like, are you vegan? Shut up. Don't talk to me. I don't know. Joey knows, right? Cass is like, don't talk to that guy. Describe.
No, I think Austin Aries is great. He's a great guy.
I'm sure he is.
He's always been great with me. I know that people have stories about a lot of people. Maybe it's different with you, right?
Right. Real talk. We'll talk about that a little bit later about like navigating the locker room. We'll talk about that. But at the end of the day, don't believe into what you've heard in the shoot stories and the da. You'll hear all sorts of things. The marks and the fans will come up with all sorts of rumors and stories about what they heard on the streets. Oh, I heard on the street sheets that this is what happened, and somebody told me, and I passed the Snapchat, and the telephone game is wild. You never know what you'll hear. And you'll laugh because sometimes you'll hear things about yourself and you'll be like, where'd you hear that? Like, that's not true. It's not because people are trying to throw you under the bus and like create gossip about you, but sometimes it becomes one of those like, I heard that about you. But if you want to be real with yourself, were you there? Were you in the room? Did you see it? Were you part of the conversation? If none of those are true, I wouldn't hang your hat on it necessarily, right? If you were there for when it happened, you can speak upon it. But if it's just, I heard a rumor that you're a dick, you're a jerk backstage, how do you know that? And sometimes the people that you hear about who are jerks might be really nice to you. Hey, hide. I've heard about you. Joey tells me you're great, right? Don't set yourself up for failure by having a preconceived notion about wrestlers that are somebody that you've heard things about, because you never know what kind of person they are realistically. You really don't know. I recently met at Primetime Live. I met Eric Redbeard. Everybody know who Eric Redbeard is, right? Right, big Eric Redbeard from the Wyatt family. No longer the Wyatt family. Now, that guy is 6'6", and his arms are as big as my thighs. No joke. That dude is humongous as a human being. And part of me, naturally, as just a human being, would probably go, that dude's going to be scary to talk to and intimidating. And holy shit, don't approach, right? Big giant, big scary giant. That dude's a teddy bear. That dude's hilarious. That guy is very soft and gentle, just very wonderful to work with. Can, cut a joke. He's very pleasant and wonderful. He's not a jerk or intimidating or what do you want? He's super nice. And Aaron Stevens pokes him in the ribs backstage and makes it like, it's funny. It's like watching two teenagers, those two go at it. I mean, so again, don't walk in with a preconceived notion about your wrestlers that you've heard rumors about, or I've heard that guy is unapproachable. Brody King gives hugs. Don't tell him I said that. So yeah, when you're doing those promos, start stretching your imagination. Start getting obviously there's a big stay-at-home order in LA. There's obviously COVID is on the rise. Please, please, please be very cautious. Don't just be like, I'm going to go to the beach just because I was told to go stretch my imagination. Use your brain first, and then start painting your world. We've got a cyberpunk ninja in the house. I want to see cyberpunk ninja at the skate parks, at the jungle gyms, at the trampoline parks, at the doing parkour like I've seen a million of his videos. I want him to do parkour moves, land, and then start cutting a promo right after he lands. Right? That sets a stage for me to start thinking about who that dude is. Mr. Maxwell Nelson, can you do any tricks in your wheelchair, like with your wheels? Can you spin around? Fucking A. Skirt right in, roll around, whoop, right? Paints a picture, right? All these intense people. I saw a lot of apartment promos that were very intense. How do we get you more intense? Different lighting, red lighting, blue lighting, hiding a background, maybe coming out of a door and it's dark back there, trying to find a gym. I mean, there's so many ways to change a mood with colors. Blue is usually cool. Red is very hot and intense, right? Think about colors with moods, right? Blue is usually seen as soothing and calming, and green is also a relaxing color, but reds and oranges and fire. I mean, there's so many ways to change a mood. I guarantee you, if you experimented, I know there's scientific experiments out there already about it, but that you can almost say the same exact thing with a red, intense, burning light in front of you and yellow background behind you or orange background to make it look like you're in hell, and you're saying the same exact thing over a cool blue, misty background, and it seems like you're in Rainforest Cafe. It seems very, no, I want to chill out, but you're saying the same exact thing. The mood and the background can change how people react or paint that. You're painting a picture again. For somebody who's a cyberpunk ninja, again, I see tops of buildings, places that humans normally aren't hanging from, trees. You're a ninja, right? One other thing too, as much as we talk about well-lit promos and we want to see your face, you can do dark promos. You can do in the night. Heidi, right? Auntie Heidi. She's mistress of the night. Right? She's all black and grr, right? I don't expect her to see at the beach unless it's probably a comedy skit or she's out of place. She's been transported to the beach and she's out of her element. But I expect her to be in dark alleys, dark corners, closets, and spooky places. Maybe even trying to figure out how to do a promo under a bed, right? Lift up a bed on some lifts and darken the underbed, and then I'm the monster you hear about. You know what I mean? Think about those things. You can there's no rules as far as those backgrounds. If anybody watches that last Slice Boogie promo, he's in some apartment projects in New York. He's coming out of an apartment project thing. He's walking out in some wet like basketball court while people are playing, and there's a drone that lifts up and you can see his whole New York environment. Fucking A, it's great. Taylor just posted an Amazon like gel paper for lighting. Right. I have this white ring light that only goes to like amber, and then there's amber, blue, and white. So you can change your mood and change the look of your character. Also, that plays into what you're wearing. If you're wearing something very pink or you're wearing something red, you don't want red lighting necessarily because it's going to make everything wash out. Be careful of that. So yeah, create your environment is what I'm really saying. And get creative, get wacky. Because again, you don't want the environment to be distracting, obviously. You got to watch for noise. You got to watch for, you don't want people walking by, and unless, if the environment is part of the promo, you definitely want to make sure it's in frame and you want to make sure it's visible. If you're talking about the Hollywood sign, you don't want to point to a little tiny, you don't want to be on the observatory and pointing to a little white dot that nobody in the promo can see. You want to get up to the Hollywood sign, or you want to be on a street or visually you want it to be there. You can almost zoom in and come back to your face. Get wacky with your camera, right? You have a phone. There's so many different clamps and those three. It's like the claw things that you can move. There's so many ways to put your cameras in different angles and different things. Matt Wall's already been doing it. I mean, he's been doing them really close and looking into the camera. As I said, his promos are so intense. I can almost smell his breath. I'm like, oh God, he's right there. It's so intense, right? But you can do things where you walk in from places, walk out of places, change your environment and paint that picture. It's going to be so valuable. To, again, you're painting, you're creating a story, you're creating a character. Use the environment you can. Yeah. Find friends that also can film for you too. That's another big, it's a big thing. I know it's like so easy to just like put it into a clamp or put your phone down on your desk and make sure it's lined up and and turn the camera around. You can actually do a lot of great promos by yourself. But find a friend, a boyfriend, girlfriend, family member, fellow classmate, meet up with them. Make sure you get COVID tested. Hey, you want to film a bunch of promos today? Great. Hold my camera. Don't be afraid to give direction on how you want that camera to be held as well. I've had people, hey, can you hold my camera while I do a promo? And I forget to tell them to like zoom in. So I have just like, I just want it from my chest up. And then I get the promo and I'm literally like 10 feet away and you see my whole body. You can barely hear me. You have to kind of give direction as the director of your own promo. So work with your camera people to know like, hey, when I come down here, swoop over here, in communication, paint the picture, communicate. Going through my notes. Okay, let's talk about costuming and how you look and your image and maintenance and testing things out. If you haven't seen the picture already, go to the group, look at the picture I posted. I literally looked at my phone today. I was like, Facebook's like 3 years ago, you posted this picture. And I was like, holy crap. That was the first day I showed up to class after Jervis Cottonbelly. Here's a get to know you moment. I had all this idea for who this Halston Body guy was going to do or what he was going to wear, but I wasn't really sure. And after I think it was 2 or 3 weeks of class, I was talking to Gentleman Jervis about, this idea. And at the time, I'm wearing like, cargo shorts and a, t-shirt and my tennis shoes, my, my New Balance. And he just like, after I'm explaining what this character is to him and what I feel like he should look like, he just steps back and looks at me and goes, so where is it? And I didn't know. I was like, oh, I clearly needed to be pushed off the bridge or kicked through this is Sparta. And I need to be kicked off the permission bridge to go, oh shit, I can wear it. I can do it. Okay. And so I wasn't necessarily ready, but I had ideas. And so that's what I had I was like, okay, something loud. I don't know if I want print, but this is what I've got. I want color. I want something weird. I'm going to wear leggings because I feel like I'm going to try something different and wear leggings and see how that feels. And let me tell you, ladies, I love leggings. They're the best things ever. I'm going to start living the gimmick soon. I guarantee you. I think before I turn 50, I'm going to be like, I'm wearing leggings from now on. I don't care because they're so comfortable. But I was like, okay, here's what I have so far. That's literally that first picture you saw is the way I describe it is this is what I have so far. And I had matching, I looked like a character from like Fred, like the live action Fred Flintstone, the Flintstones movie. Like I'd be at the bar, the bartender or something, right? Like no makeup, no nails. I bought these silver loafers on clearance off of like I don't know if it was Zappos or some other site or some other men's site. I was like, yeah, those will work. Those look funny. But at the time, because I was going with like some sort of like matchy, I had orange glasses, orange wristbands, orange tie, and orange tennis shoes. Threw it on the wall to see where we're starting. And now I've got a full wardrobe in my closet of women's wear and wacky unisex tunics and different things that I'm like, I'm fine tuning where my fashion tastes are. And now I can literally walk into a store and know what Halston Body would wear. And I've had people go, oh, you should try that on. I'll go, no, that is not in the range of what a Halston Body would wear. And it, again, you can see it didn't start like that. It didn't start with unisex or women's tops and, pearls and full face of makeup and nails. It just developed into that. And even my early makeups were just off. I mean, I don't want to call them awful. I don't want to demean them, but compared to where I'm at now, it's night and day. So this is why I talk about development and layers and trying things to see if they work. Heidi, even Auntie Heidi, who has assembled almost a full outfit for herself, hat, makeup, gloves, shawls. She has props. I've seen her work. She can always add and change things to make it better. Or if it doesn't work, try something else, right? She can upgrade. She can add things. Like she has those leather kind of motorcycle-y fingerless gloves. What if Heidi added a layer of weird because now she's got these like biker gloves? What if she suddenly changed to a glove where it's like the one finger and there's 3 exposed fingers on one hand? Maybe there's a character trait for that. Maybe there's a reason why she's hiding that finger because that's her poke finger. I don't know. Like she can always change that. Death Calhoun, I saw him, Matt Wall, putting, like ideas of like, I'm working on stuff. Get a Pinterest, get a vision board, get saved bookmarks, save things on your Instagram bookmarks, save things. Even if you don't need them, just if you're like, wow, I like those shoes, just save it. You never know. It might be an idea. It's all idea boards. I have a Pinterest full of these like flowy 70s caftans that are like, some are very provocative and some are just like amazing. They're men's caftans. But I was like, how do I make this into like Halston caftans? How do I turn it into like something I would wear that would be like, oh, this is comfy and cozy? Those layers. There's a principle in fashion called put 3 things on, take 1 off. Right? So if you put a hat, a scarf, and a lot of jewelry on or something, might be too much. It might be too busy. Take something off. Balance what you're wearing accessory wise, because you don't want to be just like this is loud and that's big and that's big and that's big. It's like there's a certain balance with fashion and look where you don't want to be too messy and you don't want to dilute. You don't want to water down your, what the main piece is or something to that effect. Does that make sense? Yeah, Instagram is such a great lookbook. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can find, if you find the stuff and you find the shopping ads, and again, if you have the suggested sales things, suddenly when you're talking about fashion loafers and caftans, it's weird how your Facebook and Instagram ads start showing you like 50% off ASOS fashion. And you're like, oh, that's a hot top. I like that, right? I just did Matt just said, I just did 3 things, 1 thing off with your makeup. You got to, again, try things. There's so many places to source. You don't have to just go to wrestlinggearshop.com to get gear. If you're a manager, we'll talk about manager looks, but as far as wrestlers, Joey can definitely talk about, and Sage can talk about where to get gear. Hyde has gotten gear. I mean, there's so many ways to make gear, design gear. They can absolutely tap into that. If we're talking about other characters, obviously managers, the cliche is obviously a suit, right? Living Zed mask, same thing. Joey can definitely point you in the right direction for mask direction and creation. I know, and Heidi knows places. I mean, I don't know anybody. I don't know gear makers. I know how to source things other than that. I know how to find accessories, shoes, hats, jewelry, streetwear, whatever. I can definitely resource that. Joey says, don't go to high spots for gear. Get it custom made. South of the border is best quality for the best price. Joey, you have a guy, right? You have a couple guys, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I always have a guy that's local, in case I don't have an opportunity to go south of the border. Usually, I get Labranito, who's got an uncle who lives in Tijuana, and he got me the best gear. But I had Thomas Vasquez from this class. I had him draw me a mask, and I had him draw me the front of the bodysuit, the front of the pants. He gave me the side. He gave the back view. He gave close-ups of the head, close-ups of maybe the gauntlets or whatever needed to be. And then what I did was I took every measurement that I could think of. Since it was a bodysuit, I took every measurement. I'd probably do it anyway and put it on file for yourself, just to have all your measurement: neck, shoulder, chest, stomach, waist, thighs, calves, boots, custom made. I would measure your feet, and there's all different ways to measure. I actually have
and your calves.
pattern that you can follow. But I would have all your measurements set to go, and then if you could send a pattern, you don't have to go down and get it made. Like, I was kind of crazy not to go down and have someone measure me out, but I trusted the guy, and it was perfect on spot. They go, hey, it's going to be a little tight, but that's because when you sweat in it, it doesn't look baggy now. Like, so, and I noticed, like, oh, okay, it was tight to put on, but when I wrestled in it, it was perfect, best quality. And they charged me for mask, bodysuit with puff muscles, pants. Everything was like 3-tone colors. Kick pads, gauntlets, trunks, and I got all that for $350. Maybe I got the chaos deal. I don't know, but a good mask, that mask I got with little horns in it, that should go probably about 150 on a minimum, in my opinion. So I knew that 350 was an incredible price, and you can find great prices south of the border.
Right, and it's good to ask these questions about like how much things cost, because it's not like there's a menu. It's not like there's a restaurant menu. Welcome to wrestling. Here's what things cost, right? It depends on your gear maker. Also, find somebody who knows how to do alterations, right? If something breaks or rips, or you have the letters, Living Zed on the back of your butt and the V pops off, make sure you have a couple alteration folks. And it could be a dry cleaner. Dry cleaner places sometimes do alterations, and they know how to do them. Or if you're a geared person, get your own sewing kit, get a mini sewing kit and keep it in your bag just in case. So there's so many ways to like make sure you protect. Also, get a wardrobe bag. Get like like a suit bag or some sort of wardrobe bag. Yes, you can have your own gear bag, but you might also want something to protect your white vinyl coat, or something that is very like, you don't want anything to get on this, especially if you're stuffing in a bag with makeup or medicines or something. You don't want something leaking and suddenly your tights have a stain on them or something. So protect your gear, protect your look. When it comes to managers, and when it comes to everybody, really, listen, this isn't just about managers. When it comes to everybody, you're creating a brand. You're creating a brand for yourself. It doesn't have to be monochrome, but it definitely, think about how, and again, this goes back to the 14-year-old principle or the 12-year-old principle. what would your action figure look like that you'd want to buy? Does that make sense? Right? Would you, if you just had, crappy trunks and half-ass boots, and one of them, the heels are dirty and everything's it's sort of half-ass, and you're wearing just a baseball cap, would you buy that action figure in the store? You'd be like, how did this guy fall out of the, truck and suddenly just become a wrestler? Like, what? You're a rock star. You're larger than life. You're a superhero. You're a superhero to some. You're a scary monster. You're whatever. Create your own comic book character wrestling look and think about it in the aspect of, like, if I was 12 years old and I loved my wrestler, would I buy their action figure based on how they look? Right? Create a look. And it won't be the first time. I guarantee you, the first thing you try out of the bag won't be exactly it. As you can tell, Halseybody's gone through layers. And now, once you've figured out who you are, then you can really start looking and seeing what works and what doesn't. But again, don't be afraid to try things too. I've tried so many outfits, and some of them work and some of them don't. I have this like full-length blue bodysuit, flappy, open-armed lady like thing, and it feels great, but it's like, it's kind of weird to be in because the pants are like too blousy. So the other thing too is, like, even as a manager, you don't want things that are going to trip you or like get in the way of you doing stuff. So be careful about your wardrobe. If you're if you're going to be in a suit, make sure you can do things in wrestling in a suit. Right? If you're going to be a wrestler, or if you're going to be a manager who wants to be able to like do moves or take moves, maybe you need to practice taking bumps in a suit so you can realize that you're not going to rip your pants, or you're going to, you may have to find an elastic pair of pants or something a little bit more blousy so that you have movement. When I had my longtime friend of mine make a custom caftan, I told her, I said, I need flow. I can't have it so tight that it like restrains me, or if I lift my arms, my belly shows or something like that. I have to like cover it all the right places, but also keep it flowy and fluid so that it moves with me and it doesn't trip me up or get in my way. Heidi.
Oh, there we go. But yeah, there's been quite a few times where, with my gear, I've had the cape or the long coat, and there's been plenty of times where I've tried to maneuver and get myself into the ring, and I've almost caught my cape on the rope, or I'm trying to do like a certain maneuver, and I end up stepping on it, almost tumbling and falling on my ass. But yeah, learning how to, or at least getting comfortable, and if you have like long pieces or flowing pieces like that, so it doesn't happen, also helps.
Right, and that's the thing too. If you have things that you're wearing that you may or may not like, your brain will tell you. Your brain will tell you when you're like, I've got this big flowy cape. Think about runway mishaps, or think about like fashion mishaps. Or do you ever see that clip of Jason Derulo tripping at the Met Gala stairs and basically tumbling over his head? Like, be very, very cognizant of what is around you. There's stairs, there's cords, there's cameras, there's ropes, there's other wrestlers, there's stage pieces that are made of metal, there are edges to things. Almost safety check yourself with your outfit. Like Heidi said, she has this big cape. You can wear a big cape. Absolutely. Please wear a big cape. But if you're going to do that, practice getting in that ring over and over again. Think about like ice skaters, how they have to like come up with some sort of flair move or something that like gets them to a place, or even just the presentation of people. Think about making it part of your movement, right? When I first got into wrestling, they taught, Gentleman Jervis talked about how you get in the ring. Well, Awesome Body doesn't necessarily need to get an amazing entrance in the ring, but I was working with Dom Kubrick, and Dom Kubrick's entrance is very, grandiose and very romantic, and he's all and arms and pecs, and he's, licking the ropes. Well, would it make sense for me to just stand there and go, Dom Kubrick, everybody, ha ha? No, I was like, okay, if Dom is going to be like this romantic, weirdly sexual kind of freaky deaky, rubbing the man and the women's chins and giving them this like show, well, I have to compliment that. So I practiced getting, like, what I did was like I basically timed it almost like it was a dance. I would let him lead and I would be behind him, and I was like just waving my fan and presenting. But then he did this thing where he always, he like comes up to a woman and like caresses her, and she's all, and then he goes to the guy and does it to him, and then he gets his way up to the front of the ring, and he does a little walk, and he leans down on the ropes, and then he like lays halfway across the ropes, and he would lick the ropes. Not anymore, COVID. I think I said that to him the first time I saw him after the COVID. I was like, please tell me you're not licking ropes anymore. But how do I compliment that? Well, I practiced myself hopping up with my butt. Like I literally like sort of shuffle jumped and spun around and landed my butt on the ring next to his legs, right where his kind of like close enough but far enough away to his crotch and his action. And I would react and wave my fan and be like, oh, what is, like, and the way we did it, just in timing wise, we looked like a figure skating couple, like, we're there. Okay, right? So, when it comes to your work, your what you're wearing and what you're doing, think about your movements. Think about where it's going to go or how it's going to go. Trust me, I feel the pressure's off now that I have dropped my fan once, but it's always on my mind, right? I'm always making sure that when I clack my fan, I don't do it so hard, and I make sure it's clear from when I raise it up in the air. And I'm watching Heather's arms as well. So she's got a big coat and it flails in the air. I'm not clipping her with my fan as I'm bringing it down, right? So you got to think about those movements and how your fabrics and how things work. Best part is, if you have fabrics, or if you're wearing things, or if part of your character has a wardrobe, it could play into things that happen to your character in wrestling. Kristen Heidi said, I have a cape. Well, wouldn't, if I were a heel and let's say she was a face and everybody loved her and she was very majestic and she had this cape, well, as a heel, of course, what's the first thing I'm going to do? Step in her cape. Step on it or pull on it and yank her, right? It could play into it. My fan has become a weapon. Everything you hold in your hand is a weapon or a tool, depending on how you use it. So I could use this to poke somebody in the chest and point at them. I could use it as a directional to point it, like, look over there kind of thing. Or I can hide behind it and peek out from over it, right? There's so many ways you can use things. And you can use your hats, your arm gauntlets, whatever. I mean, you see the guys, what makes him move more intense? Oh my God, he's taking off his knee pad or his elbow pad. Now it's raw. Oh God, he's got that raw elbow instead of the padded elbow. Right? Think about your fashion and what you're going to wear. I mean, and it's funny too. It's like you may start off thinking something is going to be right. Like, oh, these boots are going to be perfect for me. I visualize these boots. And you put on the boots, and as you wrestle, it just hurts, or things aren't fitting right, or it doesn't feel right. You may have to try something else. It's okay. You have permission to change your look. You're not an action figure yet. You're not stamped in time as the Undertaker, and we all expect black big hat and big long trench coat. We're not there yet, right? Heidi's got to develop character that's developing as that. So I expect to see her as that every time I see her in character. And there's going to be new layers and new things and different weird voodoo dolls and however she wants to add layers to that character. Same with Death Calhoun. I mean, I can't wait to see whatever gear he's going to come up with. And, it may work and maybe it won't be practical. Maybe it won't work. I don't know. I had to change my wrestling shoes in the middle of class. I was, taking wrestling class at Santino Brothers. And I thought I should get wrestling shoes. I should absolutely get like Adidas wrestling shoes because we're wrestling, right? Swim with the fishes. Hey, Bob, you big dummy. You have size 10.5 EE feet, which means you need wide shoes to make your feet comfortable. And I was wearing Adidas 10.5 normal wrestling shoes. After like the first few weeks, my knees were in pain because my feet were being pinched and it was causing me to, it was bad. The minute I changed my shoes, all that pain went away and made my 2 laps and all my workouts 100% easier. So as much as something might be fashion wonderful and fashion great, make sure there's a level of practicality to it because you don't want to be like suffer. I love to suffer for passion. I love to suffer for fashion, but they always say fashion is pain and pain is fashion. For wrestling, you want to make it practical. I guarantee there's probably a litany of stories out there about people who had costumes made for them or pieces put onto them by expensive costume makers backstage at WWE or NWA or WCW that clearly were never meant to, like the Shockmaster, of course, like, let's just spray paint a stormtrooper helmet glitter. Like, if somebody handed that to me, I was like, you're going to wear this. I'd be like, tell me why. I wouldn't question their art. I wouldn't question their integrity. I'd be like, how does this work? How does this actually work? And then, of course, he trips and it falls right off. Like, I mean, keep it practical. So yeah, fashion. There's a million websites. Also, if you're going to the manager thing about suits, study other managers, study other valets. I've already made a joke to move, and it's not a joke. There's a half truth to it, and I cut it in a promo, and I'm definitely going to use it again, where everybody who wants to be a manager immediately just goes for the suit. And being my character Halston Body, I always, because I hate authority figures and bosses, and I'm the rebel, right? I'm the boss here, not you. Is the level of like corporate, like, a suit? Who brought the stiff in here kind of thing. And so I, as a character, always say, anybody can just put on their best hand-me-down funeral or wedding suit from their dad and or get that 2-for-1 special from the Men's Warehouse and call themselves a manager. Well, then great. You get to deal with all the Karens who want to speak to the manager because you clearly are the one in charge here. Go ahead. I'll be over here managing, like, play with it. Yes, there's glitter suits. There's all sorts of sequin suits. Study other managers. Look up managers across the country. If you see a cheap $150 glitter suit or a sequin suit online because it's on some bargain website, I guarantee you at least 2 other managers around the country have found that same suit and thought about it. Look at your wrestling history too. $1 Million Man had a lime green suit that was money. There's been other managers who've worn these really fancy suits. If you're gonna wear a suit, customize it, make it your own, make it part of your brand, make it something that reflects you and not just because it's a fancy suit and it looks good, right? Maybe have somebody add epaulets to it. Maybe have somebody put some striping on the folds on the panels to make it your color scheme. Maybe, just be creative. Again, be creative. Good old funeral wedding suit. Yeah, okay, you're the manager. But again, what are you managing? Are you managing them to make sure they catch their flight in the morning? Are you managing them like an administrative assistant? You have to report with some charts and PowerPoints. What is the angle of your manager and why is he wearing a suit? Because even if you wear a suit, why are you wearing a suit? Should have an answer for those things. Why do you wear what you wear, right? Halston Body wears what he wears because he's free, darling. I wear whatever the hell I want. Damn it, this is what I'm going to wear. Don't you like comfort? I don't know if right? Like, so create the reason as to why you're wearing it, and maybe that'll help you find what you want to wear. right? Answer the reason for fashion backwards, as they say, right? Why would I wear this? Well, if I'm uptight, or if I'm this, so then I should probably wear this, right? If I'm going to be a doctor, maybe I should wear scrubs, that kind of thing. And again, if you need help, please do not be afraid to ask me, because I love to source. I love to shop. Has anybody been, is everybody here from LA, or at least around LA? I don't know if anybody who's remote, or I'm in Arizona. Go downtown to Santee Alley Fashion District. Maybe when it's a little safer. Right now is probably not the time, but just be safe. You can do it. I mean, there's still stores open down there. It's a little bit more of a barren wasteland than it was back in the heyday of pre-COVID, but there's some amazing stores down there that will get you the things you need for cheap. There is absolutely a way to make cheap things look expensive. One, own it. Two, source it. You're in Oswald is in Norwalk. Rainey says, hold on, I'll pause the tape. Rainey says, it's not okay to wear a suit as a manager. Absolutely. I mean, you can break the stereotype, right? Vicky Guerrero doesn't wear a suit, does she? She wears women's wear, right? She's not out there like in a power suit trying to be, a political figure. She's wearing cougar wear, and she's still a manager, right? Zeb Coulter was a manager, but he wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing like Americana gear and being like, you don't always have to go to the stereotype of a suit. Yes, it does work and fits the bill for some, but we're in 2020. Change the game for yourself. I mean, would it make sense if Heidi, like Auntie Heidi is this ghoulish character, would it make sense for her to have somebody next to her in a suit as her manager? She needs a Paul Bearer type. She needs somebody who's, on her page, or somebody who believes in her character and is in on the goth thing. It wouldn't really make a lot of sense. Unless you made it make sense because of a storyline, like I'm forced to be your manager because I was contracted to. And then you play the odd couple, right? It can work. It just naturally doesn't work. I go to a place in Santee Alley. It's like on the corner of like Santee and Olympic. It's called the $5 sunglass place. Why do I call it that? Because if you walk near it, you'll hear the women and the people walking and working around going, $5, $5, $5, $5. I went and bought myself $50 worth of sunglasses in case, like they're the same. In fact, hold on. They're right here. Woo! Where'd you get those shades, right? They're weird, they're square, they're artsy, they're fashion. $5. I've lost track of how many compliments I got over these glasses, and I hate telling people that they're $5, but I can't be like, but I always joke. I'm like, they're $5. Did I say five? I meant 500. $500. Right? Like, you can source it if you really look. There's so many websites that have clearance, so many fashion websites, so many leggings websites, so many shoe websites that have clearance. And Google is your friend. Google got me my first pair of shoes. I was like doing the vision board in my head. Halston Body wouldn't wear boots. I'm not trying to wear women's heels or anything. I'm not trying to do femme. I'm trying to be fancy weirdo. Well, what do fancy weirdos wear? Oh, we're going to wear silver glitter loafers. Yeah. And I literally Googled silver glitter loafers. For $40, I got a pair of clearance silver loafers from, and it wasn't like they weren't cheap, like in a way of like, these are cheaply made. They were well made. They were just on clearance because they weren't selling them anymore. And magically I had them in my size. $40. They look expensive. You don't see those sitting at the Foot Locker. They're fancy shoe land. I don't have the heart to tell people they're $40. The shoes I wear now, Santee Alley, $35 to $40, because I found a guy who has weird Italian fancy cheap loafer place. and they're all weird and with like mirrors on them and like spikes and glitter and sequins and all sorts of things. And every time I need a new pair of shoes, I'm like, $40 shoe guy. Ric Flair did not wear $1,500 alligator loafers. Just letting you know right now. He pulled them off and he told you they were $1,500 alligator loafers. I guarantee you they were not. They may have been $150, $250 loafers that were leather or alligator, but $1,500, right? Don't touch my $10,000 suit. They don't know. They didn't see the receipt. They didn't buy it. But the fact that I said it's a $10,000 suit, what does it become? A $10,000 suit. Make your character bigger than it is. Make it larger than life, and you can do it. Project Runway is loaded with challenges where they give these contestants and these seamstresses and these creators $20 to make, we're going to the dollar store. You get $20 to find material, $40 to mine an entire, and these people make full-length ballroom gowns out of corn husks. So it is absolutely possible for you to source and find cool-looking shit or awesome things to wear for your outfit, for your character. And you can have in-character outfit and streetwear character outfit. Not every time you do a promo, whether it's, by yourself because you're cutting it for something, doesn't always mean you always have to be in your wrestling gear or I'm photo ready. You can have a day wear look for your character or a different look. It doesn't have to be casual Friday, but it could be just something that's not full gear, full shoulder pads, full helmet, You can play with that a little bit, take things off, make, find your t-shirt or whatever, to tie into this as well. And this is just a locker room lesson. When you show up to locker rooms, try to look your best. I'm not saying you have to immediately go into three-piece suit land. We're all on a budget. Not everybody's loading to just buy a whole wardrobe and be fancy pants McGee every time they walk in the locker room. But don't show up to your show, scrubby t-shirt, dirty jeans, haven't showered, hair's, think about the NFL and NBA, walk-ups from the car drop-offs, and they're taking photos of Cam Newton in his fashion, and they're doing the people walking down the hallway, and they've got their Beats headphones, and they're wearing their cool, what they wear. I want to remind everybody, once you get into this business and you're around, and once again, it's hard to do this without fans, but you're always on stage and you're always being photographed and you're always being looked at from the minute you get into that parking lot. Act like that, because you never know who's going to take your picture. You never know what fan might see you. You always want to try to look your best. And it just gets you in the mode of being a professional. Right? If you want to be ring crew and you just want to wear your studio blacks and you want to wear your black t-shirt, tennis shoes and your black jeans, and you just want to be the ring crew or the camera people or whatever, totally cool. But if you're a wrestler or you're a performer, try to put yourself a little bit more together than your average Friday night on a couch in your, in your gym shorts and your tank top and your, grubby t-shirt, tennis shoes or your slides or whatever you're wearing. Put yourself a little bit more together. When it comes to your, somebody asked a question. I'll get to that question, Sasha, in just a second. When it comes to your grooming and your hair and your nails and all those things, clean your nails, get them clean, cut them. This obviously is for wrestlers too. Wrestlers, you don't want to scratch somebody or whatever like that, but you're going to scratch yourself, or something's going to catch on a nail and it's going to break off or so. Take care of your hygiene. Please shower. Please wear deodorant. Please at least shower. But at the same time too, part of your look is what you're wearing. I learned this early on with Bateman. Everybody know Tyler Bateman from Ring of Honor, Santino graduate, somebody who's trained me. He's always wearing his nail polish 24/7. I had to clean mine off because I just need to reset and Thanksgiving weekend. But I'm going to be at Primetime Live tomorrow, and there is a chance that I have to, even if I already know there's a chance that I might have to cut some promos for United Wrestling Network or whatever like that. But even the fact that I'm going to be there, always be ready. I'm painting my nails tonight. Just because I'm going to be at Primetime Live tomorrow, I'm going to have my gear ready. Just be ready. Be camera ready as much as you possibly can. I'm 47 years old. Does everybody see that big gray streak in my beard right here? If I didn't dye my beard, Halston Body would look like, someone's, come on, Uncle Halston, Daddy, Uncle, who's this older man? Blah, 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 blah. Now, I'm not doing the shoe polished black, obviously I'm dyeing it. I went to Sally Beauty Supply and talked to hairdressers and spoke about how to make it look professional without having it look like I just put, black shoe polish in my hair. I'm trying to make it a toasty brown, you know what I mean? So I have to re-dye it. If I show up and there's like half my mustache is white and there's all this white streak in here, I look messy. I have to shave my head every 2 days to make sure it's tight for shaving because I do makeup. It's come to this, Joey. I now tweeze my eyebrows and make sure they look good so I don't have big caterpillars and crazy eyebrows because I got to glue them down and do makeup over them. It's called maintenance. It's called work. I now have a full kit of makeup that I have to maintain and upkeep and make sure I have all the things I do. Right? This will go into, I'm sure, yes, Coach, 5-minute warning. Joey will absolutely talk about gear bag and necessity and things that you should have if you have a gear bag so that you're ready and you're prepared. You don't want to be the person walking in the locker room asking everybody for tape and things and da-da-da-da. You'll come up with your own kit. You'll have your own little first aid things, sewing kits, Band-Aids, ibuprofen, wrist and ankle, whatever tapes you need. You have to start becoming a professional and start being prepared and packing your luggage and making sure it's all clean and washing your gear and making sure you dry it properly and all, like, it's time to be an adult in wrestling. Right? So yeah, those are those things you've got to start maintaining. A question that was brought up by Sasha: if you're doing your makeup or in a mask, do you show up in it? Depends. Like right now with COVID times, like with Primetime Live tomorrow, normally we're showing up around 11:30, and that's normally when I'd be going upstairs and sitting down and doing my makeup for like 45 minutes to an hour without a mask on. Because the COVID rates are spiking and things are a little, I'm getting a little like vibe that I should probably be a little bit more cautious. Tomorrow I have to get up real early, get my makeup done before I leave the house because I kind of just want to be there prepared. And it would be easier for me to touch up quickly without having to be off my mask for a long time. But pre-COVID times and just knowing how long it takes me to do my makeup, I will make sure I'm at the locker room early enough and make sure I have a spot to make sure I get that makeup done or look for the mirror or bring my own mirror or do those things to be prepared. You can always depend on a mirror somewhere, by the way. There may be a show at some rinky-dink place that doesn't have a backyard or so. I don't know. Not every place has a glorious locker room with plumbing. You may have to just bring your own stuff. I always carry a portable mirror with my gear now because I can't depend on making sure there's a mirror, and I can't depend on standing in a bathroom and taking up bathroom space to make sure there's a mirror. Be a Boy or Girl Scout. Bring your own things. Traditionally, Joey's talking about hoods. So yeah, 2 more minutes left until we go into Halston Body After Dark. Any questions or anything to ask? Wow, I'm a great teacher. I'm teasing. Heidi, Kristen.
Oh, yeah. Kind of thinking about updating a couple things. What would you recommend for basically for like golf pieces? Like, would the Santiago Alley place also have it too?
Yeah, I feel like there could be pieces down there for goth stuff. I mean, realistically, there's a lot of goth communities online and or groups and or you know, shows and there's so much goth fashion that people have made. Tap into Burning Man crowd, tap into, you know, all those, like, there's that, perfect person I know, Tyler Davidson, Ty Davidson. Mr. Tyler Davidson went to Wasteland, which is that Burning Man for like Mad Max people.
Mhm.
I have a hunch he knows people who are goth designers and or people who make goth clothing. You know, there's also, you know, the obvious, it's like follow the breadcrumbs. Well, what are the goth music? What goth music do you like? Well, if you like goth music, fans of goth music usually dress goth. Where do they buy their stuff? Where do bands in goth, you know, places buy their things? You know, it's easy to just go Hot Topic, but Hot Topic is like goth for 12-year-olds. Like, you want real adult looking, like Kiss costume level, like goth stuff that's unique. You know, doesn't hurt. The other fun thing to do is invest. If you really want to make it worth it, maybe you don't need, I know it sounds so parental, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to say it. Maybe you don't need that PS5. Maybe you don't need that new Xbox. Maybe you don't need that whatever toy you're buying or whatever you're spending your money on. That's part of the adult responsibility clause of wrestling. If you really want to look amazing and you really want to afford that cool headpiece or that cool custom leather gauntlet set, you might have to sacrifice some things. You may have to actually just hone in on your money, and because it's worth it. I'm telling you what, the minute I showed up into that with that custom caftan that's just a giant disco ball, Scorpio Sky was over the moon. He couldn't stop. He was like, I can't with this outfit. Where did you get this? It grabs attention. And if it pops the wrestlers, you guarantee it's going to pop the audience.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's worth it to spend that $100 on that cool hat, but you got to protect the hat. Buff Bagwell, don't touch the hat. It's very famous. Don't touch the hat ever. He literally keeps it like a glass case. Don't touch that stovepipe Buff Bagwell hat that he was famous for. Right? You never know. Like my fans, I'll share the secret. I sourced these off of Alibaba.com, and I got them custom made from China. They cost me $4 each. I sell them for $15. Now that's normal retail markup, but again, this was custom made. I had to buy 100 of these, but now Heather and I both share them and sell them, and it's her signature piece. This showed up on AEW. I just want to let everybody know that. I didn't ask for it. Heather didn't even tell me she was going to buy an AEW, but this idea alone of having a custom made fan for a wrestler was drag. I mean, it came from drag culture. I'm not going to say I'm the most, I'm not going to take credit I'm the most smart, unique human being who came up with fans. The fans have been around longer than I've been alive, but I saw the visual of it and thought that belongs in wrestling. And it's the best advertisement in the world. That's like, here, Heather Monroe, she's the Killer Bay, it's right in your face. I sourced it. I spent $400 on 100 fans, and it's paid off. And again, if my wrestling ends tomorrow, my life is over in wrestling tomorrow. My legacy is I got a prop on a major wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, how do these things happen? I invested. You never know. You never know. Not sure. Somebody said, well, wigs. Yeah, you got to be professional about wigs. You got to get those things glued down, professionally done. Unless your gimmick is the wig comes off, right? If you're doing the Sasha Velour, pull the wig off,
I got a question.
Yes. Willie O.
Yeah, so we're talking about like, the investments and like, especially like for entrance gear, I guess I'm more like going towards on this one, but like if you have like a mask or a cape or something like that, what's the best way to get that back at the end of the show? Or not to like be like, oh yeah, don't lose my mask. I worked really hard on that. Like how
all
do
wrestling,
you?
Yeah, no, all wrestling shows, everybody that's like the common practice. There's usually a student or somebody who's helping the show that collects the gear. And there's usually a table or a place that's designated for once your match is over, go over to the table to get your gear.
Okay.
No one, I've never, I mean, Joey has a illustrious history in wrestling and probably can share stories. I don't know how ring gear gets stolen unless it's left out and a fan grabs it, or some shady wrestler decides to steal your shit just to fuck with you. I don't know that. But yeah, Sage just said, sadly be prepared to lose it at some point. I mean, well, that's the funny thing that's why I bought 10 pairs of sunglasses, because if one breaks, I have another one. I'm not saying you got to spend $9,000 on 2 pieces of $4,500 gear, but don't be surprised if something goes wrong and something rips or something gets lost. Just be vigilant, right? If it really means something to you and if it's really important, make sure you're aware of where it is at. The minute you get off that stage or that ring, where's my coat, right? Where's my coat? Or if you know who the person is that's actually collecting the gear, communicate. Hey, make sure my coat doesn't walk away. Like,
I used to pull an Undertaker and put my custom leather jacket on the pole, and then I would yell at somebody and make it part of the show and say, "Don't touch my jacket," which would also lead to, if I wanted to use the jacket or have the face grab the jacket, and I can use it as heat for me. But I used to do that for the specific reason, Will, to make sure I know where my jacket was so I can get it back so I would not lose it. Because like Sage said, you're going to lose something very dear to you one day. You're going, oh my God, how did it happen? It's just going to happen one day. You're going to look up for it everywhere. You're going to make sure you have your eye on it. It's going to get lost. That's why I always say, like, hey, obviously get custom made stuff, but just like Bob said, if it's something cheap that you can get, like glasses, I wouldn't bring out your Ray-Bans. They're going to get punched off you. They're going to break. They're going to get thrown into the crowd. I've thrown Eli's trunks into the crowd. He took them off and threw them at me. He had trunks under, but I threw them into the crowd. He's like, "Why'd you do that?" So he threw them at me. So I threw them in the crowd. He never got them back.
In fact, before we leave, I'll tell you the quick story of how I learned the valuable lesson of you never know how you're going to lose your gear. In an early show at Ground Zero in San Diego, I parked my car in the normal parking lot right next to the skate park in Imperial Beach, right next to the building where the wrestling was going to happen. I somehow forgot to lock my doors on my car, and I left my bag in my trunk. My wedding suit, my first, Joey, that one shirt with Alyssa on it, with Kathy from HR, the rhinestoney, I have a picture of it. It's gone. I accidentally left my gear in my car and left my trunk unlocked. Came back to my car and my entire bag was gone with my suit, my wedding suit. Lesson learned. Guess who's always locking his door 6 times before he makes sure don't leave your gear hanging out in your car. Make sure to protect it. You never know how you're going to lose it.
No matter how tired you are, I would never leave my gear in my car for that specific reason of, I don't understand, but I've heard so many cars getting broken into, and they took my wrestling boots and my wrestling gear. I don't know why, but they took them. Right. And it happens. And those boots, if you're getting them quality made, I mean, maybe you got them for $100, they're going to be about an average of $300, $350 on those boots. But I would never leave it in the car for that specific reason. So
isn't that the shoot story of how Jericho lost the AEW title, or is that just all work?
And that's the going story of how he did lose the title, leaving it in his car. So, but yeah, I totally.
Jeff Cobb there's a thing about flying too. Always pack your gear in your carry-on. Don't put it in checked luggage. There's a story about how Jeff Cobb famously checked his luggage and they lost his bag and he had to wrestle in his underwear and barefoot because he didn't have gear.
That's the reason why Slammers, and you'll talk to Mongo, I think, next week, is that he came from Slammers. They had you wrestle barefoot and in trunks in case you lost your gear. And they would tell you, never check your gear. Carry it on. You have to carry it with you. Don't check your clothes. Make sure you have your gear, because why is the reason you're on a flight? Because I'm supposed to wrestle. Well, then wear the same clothes that you wore that day or whatever the case is. But let's end it there, Bob. If you want, you can definitely go after. I don't know if you will. But let's go to officially end it there. I want everybody to thank Coach Bob on the 3 days that he gave us. I really appreciate it, Coach Bob, with the character portion of it. Thank you, Coach.
Doors open, by the way, for everybody.
Yes.
Just to let you know, find me on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. The door is open. I will always be there to answer questions when I can. I'm not always the immediate diligent, like, I'll get right back to you. Just, reach out to me. Don't be a stranger, because I will always be there to help you source and get yourself better. It's my mantra in wrestling. I'm always here to help. So don't be worried that you're bothering me, or, oh, I'm sorry to bother you. I don't mean to press. Just ask. I'll get to you. Don't worry.
Be persistent, right? Just like you would be on your booking. Be like, hey, Bob, did you get a chance to take a look at my video? And he'll probably say, oh, you know what? Tonight I will. He'll get on it. Squeaky wheel gets that oil.
It's a human reminder for me to, like, get on your shit, man. Get that. All right, let's bring it in, everybody.
But yeah, thank you, Coach Bob. We're going to come back tomorrow and do live promos. And then whoever's been submitting the promos, we're going to put you in that our promo battle tournament this Thursday. So get those promos in if you haven't already.
Do I have to be in? I am going to watch live promo battles.
Yeah, Coach. You're not scheduled to be here, but you're always welcome to be here. And I definitely would love it if you could be here. That'd be great. Doing live promos on Wednesday. Giving live feedback, and then we're going to go into promo battle. But I am utilizing the people that have been submitting the promos to put you in that promo battle, which is always fun, and all the students get a great kick out of it. So let's officially end here. We'll Santino it out, and then Bob will continue afterwards if whoever has time. All right, everybody. Santino's on three. Santino's on three. One, two, three. Santino! All right. Everybody have a great night.
Renee, I'm still here, though.
Yeah, Coach Bob will still be here, guys.
Pick my brain.
Pick his brain.
Coach Joey, I wanted to tell you, Lex Icon says hi.
Lex Icon. Where do I know that name? Why do I know that name? Lex Icon.
OCCW.
Okay. I do know Lex Icon with the baby letters and boxes. What are they?
Yeah, and then he does like the stuff on the hat and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, yes, yeah, totally. No, tell him I said what's up, man. I hope he's still doing it, still hanging and keeping that dream alive, man. So yeah, I definitely appreciate that.
Yep.
All right, everybody, you have a good night. I'm gonna check out. I'll get the notes up right now, and then I'll get the video as soon as Coach is done. All right, everybody, have a good night. Be safe. See you Wednesday.
All right. So what up? Yes, I have a couple questions. Hannah.
I feel like I've been a little too flat with my current character, and I was thinking of kind of like switching it up, and I had like this whole like idea for like a saying. And then another reason why I feel like switching my motivation, because I know in like the promos you guys I've been submitting that it's kind of like flat. I don't have too much intensity, and it's kind of boring. Like I know where I want to go with it, but I'm really boring. And I don't have that tone. Also, I don't have like a set outfit. But for this new kind of character, I would keep the name Josette DeLarvery, but I would go with like this whole saying of youthful aggression and she's more driven and really angry. Like I wouldn't be the asshole heel, but I'd be more like a vigilante, I guess. Is it okay if I submit stuff with that new character?
I'm gonna go back to the permission principle. You have all the permissions to change and take it wherever you need to go. Mm-hmm. The same way Gentleman Jervis gave me permission to be Halston Body, I give you all the permission to switch and change it up. If you just gave yourself the most self-aware critique. I feel it's boring and I don't have a thing and da 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 da. Well, you just answered your own question. If you already have another idea, take that left in the road and see what happens. Again, Halston Body didn't start with, I didn't even have a fan yet. I was just this guy. I didn't even know what I was doing with it. The layers, that's the fun of trying new things, because you never know what's going to work. If you don't try it, you'll never know the answer. I have absolutely discarded things that I've tried plenty of times that I thought, oh, that'll work, like those frameless glasses. I was like, how many sunglasses are going to pop out with breaking glasses? I was like, well, I just wear sunglasses. Just wear fancier sunglasses because you're a man of fanciness and you're going to be fancy. Like, be fashion, right? So yes, you have all the permissions to try whatever you want. Not everybody starts off with a fully formed character day one. Even Hyde, I know Hyde is Hyde, but he's already exploring other character tropes and ideas, right? Auntie Heidi is a built-in character because I've known her for well over a year. She may change that up one day. She may stop being an auntie. She just may be Heidi. Hyde and Heidi. We got, you never know. Again, you're allowed to change it. If you're under contract with a major promotion and AEW is paying you to be Auntie Heidi, you're Auntie Heidi. You can't go, well, tomorrow I'm going to be Jeff Jones. You know what I mean? Like, you got to go with where you're going. And usually by that time, it's a successful character. So you're probably going to just stay on that train until it doesn't work anymore. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, even if you're the same character and you just change the aspect, like how many legendary characters do we know that have reinvented themselves plenty of times in their career? And it's, yes, you can talk about the Undertaker and you have Purple Glove Undertaker, and then you have American Badass Undertaker, and then you have short hair bandana Undertaker, and then you have, you know what I mean, like Jericho. Jericho was the Lionheart, but then he was like silver shirt muscle Jericho, and then he was business suit Jericho, and there's even Ric Flair. Ric Flair was 70s, glasses, blonde hair, wheeling and dealing, kiss stealing, and then he became like NWO, WCW, carry the torch for WCW Ric Flair, and he had short hair and he was wearing a suit. Like, you can change your character as long as it makes sense, or again, you're in development stage. You're still babies. Not everybody is fully formed yet. Even Holston Body is not fully formed yet. And I've been doing it for 3 years. I still have more layers and more pieces, and peeling the onion one layer at a time. There may be new things that came out. I have, spoiler, I have a rhinestoned bat coming into play. Don't tell anybody. If I find out you tell anybody, I'm coming with you at this bat. I have to fix it, everything. But I literally, like, this was made for me, and it said flawless before. Somebody made it for me because they thought, you need a rhinestone bat. I was like, holy crap. But I'm going to change this to say Killer Bay and Rhinestones. And because as a tribute, I'm going to name it Jane, because that's my mom's name. Because you know how they always make inanimate objects with names? This is Jane. Do you not know Sweet Jane? Ooh, Sweet Jane. She's coming for you, right? So, try new things. When I walked into Halston Byland, I didn't go, he's going to have a rhinestone bat. It just became an idea of like, well, if Halston had a weapon, what would it be? I don't know. Even if I had a normal weapon that like a kendo stick, of course I'm going to glitterize and fashionize a kendo stick. You know what I mean? Like, so play with ideas, keep playing with the ideas, keep molding the clay, keep throwing things out and bringing them back in, trying this thing and seeing if it works. You'll feel it. You'll know if it works. If it feels awkward and it feels stunted and inauthentic, you'll know. Your body, the way you speak, the way you feel, your brain will tell you before you actually act on it. Just got to convince yourself to do it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else with anything? Yes, Mr. Maxwell.
So I'm trying to, I guess, just deep dive more into my character and what I'm thinking about. And I have the red suit, and I love the red suit, but there's some problems with the red suit. Because I sit down, I have really broad shoulders, so I wear like an XL and everything. But like even this t-shirt, it's hard to see on camera, but this t-shirt's super baggy. It's super baggy. So it's like I could keep doing the suit thing because I like the suits. I think the suit thing works. I think it fits the character.
Right.
It's just I need to find a tailor.
Yes, absolutely.
And,
don't look sloppy, right?
Yeah, right. So
people notice that. Listen, even the people with the least exquisite taste will know when you look like you're wearing a cheap, baggy, hand-me-down or ill-fitting suit. They will. The world's eyes are a critic.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
And even if, like, like it's almost like sometimes I call it my first suit. That's why I always joke about it being a hand-me-down, because it's not really fitting you. It's sort of like, I found this suit at a thrift store and it kind of fits. You can tell it definitely needs a tailor's touch to make
Right.
it look, because again, it's a big difference between being what they call shindies and professional. Does everybody know the word shindy?
I've heard it. I've heard in shoot
Shitty
interviews.
indie.
Yeah.
Shitty indie. Backyard, unprofessional. No one cares about the look and the presentation of the show. So they allow wrestlers to look like crap. They allow outfits to look dirty. They don't referee wearing jeans or not black shoes. Like there, you as somebody who, as people who need to, I mean, you guys are all fans and you all have observational skills. There's a reason why they make websites called Botchamania and Wrestle Crap, and like that's your gauge. If you're not sure if something is professional or not, or if you're unsure of what a look should or shouldn't be, study those like mockery sites on Facebook or wherever that rip on crappy wrestling promotions and the videos that they put out. There's a reason why they make fun of those places, because they're unprofessional and they don't care about the lighting, and they don't care about their wrestler wearing a dirty t-shirt while he's cutting a promo, and they don't care about Trash Baggers Facebook group. That's another one. Trash Baggers wrestling. Yeah. If you need a check for yourself about what not to do, watch those promos and watch those sites. There's a reason why they make fun of them. You don't see clips from United Wrestling Network, AEW on there, unless it's a botch, right? If it's a botch, Botchamania is everybody botches. But like the ones that are just making fun of like the crappiest, like, we think we're professional promotion here in the sticks of Pennsylvania, and sorry, my brother's lawnmower is going on behind me while I'm cutting a promo. Like, as a fan, what's quality and what isn't, right? And not everybody has to be like the top level production, but that there's this line, there's this pure line that makes it look amazing versus unprofessional. And a ill-fitting suit typically falls into my first suit. I'm just doing this because somebody gave me a suit and I don't know what else to wear. You probably get away with that at a shitty show or whatever. But if you want to present yourself to others as a professional, that's what you do.
I also just wanted to
step it up is what I say.
Gotcha. I also just wanted to say I did get the announcing thing on Saturday for OCCW.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And it was weird. It was like, it's like that first time when you're in a place and you're like, it's homey and it's nice and you enjoy like where it is. And it was like kind of like I'm glad I took this step and I'm following the dream type thing.
Right.
It's very little, but it's great.
Step into the pool for the first time and put your toes into that cool pool because you're not sure if it's cold water or you see it's the dark ocean and you're not sure where you're jumping into. But once you jump in, you're like, oh, the water's fine. All right. All right. The barnacles and the fear layers will peel off the minute you start to get there. You just get there. Just show up. Right? Even showing up to a wrestling show. I'm telling you what, the first Santino Brothers show I went to was almost 3 years ago around Halloween. It was the night of the death match or whatever. It was like, it was Ruby Reyes versus Tyler Bateman for the main event. It was Heather Monroe versus Swade Thompson. It was there was a death match between True Grit and I want to say Los Luchas. I was blown away because they had production, they had lights, they had great announcers, they had people doing it professionally. And I was blown away. That's literally, I told Joey this story before. That is the reason why I signed up for Santino Brothers. Because I went to an AWS show. That was my first local indie show. And I was like, all right, I get this. It's like sweaty. It's like a punk show. It's like sweaty and it's close. And everybody's like, involved and right up front, and it's right there, and it's great. And Santino brother, it was great, but it didn't make me go, I want to do this. I mean, yes, being that close to it was like, wow, I can't believe I'm this close to this. This is amazing. But when I actually went to Santino Brothers, I thought, this is where I need to be. This is professional. They care about the product and the look and the feel and the vibe, and they want it to look good. They're not just throwing some random person out on, like they want to make sure you know how to wrestle. They want to make sure you're coming in looking good. You just can't be messy in wrestling. It stands out like a sore thumb. It really does. You'll know the line. Now, the other thing is too, speaking of that, maybe this ties into the professionalism portion of the TED Talk. Even if you know a show is shitty, even if you know a promotion is like not your bag, baby, never talk shit about it. It's not worth it. Again, it goes to that principle of someday you may be working there, or you may have to ask to work there because no one else is booking you. You don't want to burn bridges. And also it ties into, you don't want to discount what's possible. Sometimes you might have to do a crappy show to learn. Sometimes you may have to work for a weird organization that's kind of, again, it's that opposite lesson. Learn what not to do, right? I mean, listen, Dom and I wrestled at Destination 6 in Barstow twice. It was fine for what it was. It was lovely. We treated it as professionals. We showed up, we did our job, we did the wrestling, whatever direction we needed to do, Will I go back there? I'm not running and gunning for D6. It's not because it's not a legit wrestling show. It's not because Heidi's wrestled there, right? Heidi, you wrestled there. But the first show, the owner, the mom, the owner, she's the mother of the son who's running it, got drunk and literally got into a fight with an audience member during the show. Now, I wasn't part of it. Not my business, not my problem, not my circus, not my elephants. But do you want to work for somebody who is getting drunk at her show and then like fighting the audience? Does that sound like a professional environment to anyone? If you worked at Target and your boss came in drunk, started fights with customers, would you feel good about working there? Not really, right? I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I wouldn't. Now, am I going to shit on their product? Am I going to write Twitter tweets? D6 is crap, and they don't know what they're doing, and garbage and trash. No, they're still in business. I'm not a promoter. I'm not a booker. I'm not running a show, so I can't step on their toes and be like, they suck. Like, I just choose not to work there because I don't feel it's a very professional environment. And I hold myself to a different standard, I guess. Now, if the Halston Body party train dies and nobody, whatever, and maybe I move to Barstow for some weird reason, I'm going to knock on their door again. Hey, guys, but guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to come in willing to help, make it better. How can I help make this a better promotion? How can I, eager beaver, right? Not going to just suffer and be like, oh, I guess we're going to deal with this drama, right? Like, I'm going to try to make it better because that's what we do. We always learn and always try to make something better. Leave whatever you're doing behind better than it was. All right? Don't worry. Destination 6 has asked me and Dom Kubert to come back 2-3 times. Realistically, unfortunately, our schedule has just never worked out that we could do it. But even if it did, I was like, I don't know, brother. Like, it was weird. It was a weird situation. I can't speak on Heidi's experience. Maybe she had a different experience. Heidi, do you wish to share?
Yes. Well, Kinda, because they treated me very well, a bit too well. They to the point where it felt like that they were ignoring a lot of other female talent, specifically because they wanted to put the title on me and just make me their Undertaker, and I felt really terrible about that. And like I put in the text, to be fair, they have been getting better. It's a very slow process, but being there, you can tell that a lot of the stuff there, it's the atmosphere is wrestling. They love wrestling. This is made out of pure love, but the thing is that they're still going through growing pains.
Right. They're only 2 years old.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like this Destination 6 in Barstow has been around for years and years and years. And they're just like, oh, they're still crappy. They're making a solid effort.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's things I would definitely suggest, but again, it just ties into the professionalism. I would never tell anybody here not to go wrestle at D6, because maybe you got to do it just to see it and just to try it. And just maybe that's where the first place you get booked, right? It's not 0 to championship wrestling from Hollywood for everybody. I mean, it wasn't for me either. It took me a year and a half to get on that show. I was still working it, but I wasn't on the show. But you got to, while you're not a star on some show, while you're not making headwaves in some other program, you got to work where you got to work. Right? Now, you know, there's this level of like, you know, I talked about how people like wrestle and they get up to a certain point, but you got to be careful because you might come back down that same hill. Now, I mean, do you think like, you know, a Fred Rosser or a Davey Boy Smith or anybody like, do you think they would end up working at a D6? Not likely. But in the world is always, you never know what will happen. You never know. So again, let wrestling organizations be wrestling organizations, because you know, you can have your own opinions about where you want to work or where you don't want to work, but it's never in your best interest to like crap on somebody else's product. It really isn't good, because at the end of the day, unless you're running your own promotion and you're running your own business and you're running your own show, you don't really have room to talk. Realistically, you know what I mean? You can definitely comment on what you like or what you don't like about the product, but at the end of the day, don't burn your bridges, because you might need those later. You know? You know? And you know, that's the funny thing too. Sometimes people, in the realistic sense, like you've seen this in music and you've seen this in movies and you've seen this in celebrities. Some celebrities and some stars are not meant to be A-list. Right? And you've seen celebrities go from D-list to A-list, and it's weird. And sometimes that celebrity doesn't even know how to deal with it, because they're happy being a C-list celebrity or a B-list or a D-list celebrity. It's comfortable. In the world of acting, there are things, you've heard of that guy and that girl, right? Oh, there's that guy. I've seen that guy in a lot of shows. Oh, I don't know his name, but he's that guy. You've seen him, the guy from the commercials. He's that guy. You don't even know his name, but he's familiar. He's comfortable because you're like, oh, I've seen that guy in the commercials before. I've seen that person on that soap opera, but I don't remember him. He's just a character guy. There's a reason for that, because not again, you can't have a movie filled with Brad Pitts and and Angelina Jolie's. Just every character is all that. And that goes with the levels of wrestling. Not everybody is going to be Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, Kenny Omega, Triple H, Undertaker. Not everybody is going to be that. Some people just make it to a certain level, and maybe they're just happy with that. Maybe they're okay with being the star of local wrestling organization. That's okay. It really is. I know it sounds like, no, yes, we should all shoot for the moon. Definitely reach for the stars. But life and reality sometimes just doesn't. The cards are not in the deck for you to become the next Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks. So, maybe that goes into a gratitude lesson. Like, get to where you need to be. Always keep trying to climb. But if the reality of life pushes you back down, maybe it's okay to just accept that. You know, I guarantee you there's people that are very happy to wrestle consistently at D6 because it's in their comfort zone and they know what they're doing, and they're maybe seen as somebody bigger than the other people on the card because D6 is chosen to, like, just what Heidi said, we're going to make you our champion and we're going to make you our star. Da, 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 da. You know, if you know, Heidi felt weird about it, and I can understand why, because again, you can't just shove a belt in somebody's hand and go, you're a star. I mean, it doesn't, it depends, you know? So, and money always talks too. Money talks. Hey, we're going to make you the champion. Really? How much does that bring in? Oh, well, I'll do that. But yeah, so any other questions? Great question. Yes, Willie O.
Yeah, so as far as like appearance and everything goes, like tattoos, how do those play in? Because see, I was going more heelish and stuff like that, but like, see, I got this guy right here, and I know that like stuff playing, it's the Joker, so I don't. If I'm playing like a certain character, should I work more towards like covering it up because I don't want to be associated with them? And a lot of times, like if I'm gonna do like maybe like a deranged type, I don't want people to think that I'm trying to go to him because I like him a lot, you know, obviously. So, and same with the Deadpool. Like I'm really with my face character, I really want to go more of a Deadpool-ish, like with more clean of humor, of course, for the audiences. But I want to go more of that. But I don't want people to see the tattoo and be like, oh, that's why I get that vibe and stuff like that. So I was wondering if that's really effective or if I'm just thinking too much into it.
6 of one, half dozen the other. Danny Limelight. Does everybody know Danny Limelight? If you don't, look him up. He's very, 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 very much into Spider-Man and Stan Lee and Marvel. He has literally a Spider-Man tattoo in the middle of his chest, and he wrestles shirtless. He has an I Am Groot tattoo right here on his pec. It costs a lot of money to do cover-up. Makeup cover-up is even more expensive. If you're a wrestler and sweating, it's not going to last very long. If you've got tattoos on your forearm, though, and you are, and whatever, if you're trying to present a different image, you just might have to invest in gauntlets or arm sleeves. Pick your battles. The other thing is, too, is that sometimes if you have, you know, let's say you're trying to be a Deadpool-ish character, but, you know, again, it goes into that game of familiarity. You don't have to be Deadpool. But if you study, and I mean study Deadpool, you can pick up personality nuances without having to imitate him. Right? He's a smartass. He always has a quick smartass answer that sometimes gets him in trouble. That's also the personality trait of a smart-mouthed 10-year-old. Right? It doesn't always have to be Deadpool. Deadpool will technically make it filthy, right? Like he'll always be a, you know, that's what she said kind of guy. So make it your own. What's your smart ass Alec remark all the time? Like, figure out, again, tied in. If you were Deadpool, how would you act? Right? I'm sure you have a slice of your own sense of humor that matches or at least can be played into that. So, you know, don't overthink it too hard. Again, unless you're on TV and there's rights involved, because I know there's a whole thing about wearing tattoos and getting the permission of the tattoo artist or the property. There's some weird, I don't know the exact rules, but look them up. There's some weird thing about that where be careful about having a person's art on TV if you're making money off of it or so. I don't know. Look it up. But I think you're a little overthinking it at this point, at least. Anybody else? Yes. Rainy.
Hi. So I just have a question about like how to kind of get your foot in the door if you're trying to be like a wrestling manager.
Well, one, present yourself as one, right? I mean, you know, I want to be a valet manager, whatever. Okay. 2, get in where you fit in. Obviously, for some, like just what I did, and I can't say my path is going to work for everybody, but it can't hurt. Show up, be present, talk, do the work, carry the ring. And when you have the time and you're getting to know people, that's what you're presenting to them. Oh, what do you do? Do you wrestle? What are you doing? My goal is to be a manager. Oh, that's great. Who do you want to manage? Right? This is why you also want to start studying the local scene, because you might have some ideas of who you might want to already manage, right? There may be somebody. Now, realistically too, be prepared for rejection. And, again, this is all about painting your own story. So if you're like, I would love to manage so and so and so, write the story out. Watch, again, you could pick anybody. Fist Combat, D6 could be GCW. If you're really like, I see an angle here that I could manage you, and here's the story of why it would work. Make it work. Dom and I worked because we're the opposites. Dom's character, the reason I got paired with Dom via Joey is because he saw my character and he knew Dom's character, and he said, try this. And when we worked together, it became like Dom's character when I first started was this like pervy, it's gold dusty, a little bit of gay panic, smooching the guys and the girls, pansexual, but also making it like freaky deaky and sort of like, it's like he was curious and he wanted to sniff and taste, it was like this whole like sexual exploration character, like kind of thing. Well, I couldn't be sexy because then you got too sexy in the room and then we're competing. So my goal as my manager was to be like, and it plays into parts of me as like, look at this creature being weird. You should enjoy this. Oh, and I Halster Body absolutely applauds that behavior. More of that freaky yes. Like I was almost being entertained as his manager because he was weirding out the audience or making them react. I was like, yes, more of this. Ha. Like I had to be almost anti-sexual. I couldn't sex myself up. I couldn't make myself sexy in a way where I was like, look at me, be sexy. Like he was the goods. He was the merchandise. So that goes into the relationship conversation and the lessons. It's like, understand what your relationship would be with a wrestler. I mean, you could literally do it in this room right now. You would just write a book and go, if I were a manager of Rhea Givens, how would I manage her? How would I be Rhea's manager? She's this tough, streetwise, like she's got this danger edge that you don't want to fuck with her, but she's straight edge, so she doesn't give a shit. You got to tap into those personality characteristics. Well, how does that work? You can't be the circus barker with her and be like, da 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 da, here comes Ray, here she comes, it's Rhea Givens. That doesn't work. You almost have to be as brooding as her, right? When Gangrel had the brood and they weren't wrestling yet, they had to be Gangrel's friends. You know what I mean? Like they were hanging, Edge and Christian were all these like gothy, right? They weren't just like dudes in t-shirts and jeans going, who's this Gangrel guy? They had to play with him. So you could literally walk through the room and go, if I were Rainey and I were this manager, how would I manage a Heidi? Well, I would be her, it's like, I always think of Sherlock Holmes and, Watson. Would you be her Watson? Right? That kind of thing. That's why I talk about like, watch those character studies in TV of two people, right? Like even going back as the Abbott and Costello and Laurel Hardys, sometimes the opposites work well together. If you think about tag teams, why they work well together, that gives you a painted picture of how managers can work with each other, right? Road Dogg Jesse James and Mr. Ass Billy Gunn. Well, Mr. Ass Billy Gunn was, I'm an ass man, and he was all, kind of frat boy party dude, or at least, he was more into his body and being all tan and blonde and Mr. Ass, and Jesse James Road Dogg was just the road dog. He was the party guy. And hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, like, you can see the dynamics. They couldn't both be Mr. Ass Men, otherwise they'd be the ass tag team. Like, hey, look at our butts. We're the butts. Like, think about, go back in wrestling history, you know, even, you know, 5 years ago, and look at relationships and how the dynamic works to create manager dynamics. If you put me with anybody, I will have to figure it out how it would work. And again, it could be, it doesn't always have to be synergy and Hands Across America and, you know, we're all working together. It could be a character angle where I hate working with my client because he's abusive to me. You don't, you know, again, you might have to figure out, like, well, this guy is such a badass and he's going to treat me like a jerk too, but I just take it because I'm used to it. It's like what, battered wife syndrome. Like, oh, he's, you know, but I can't leave him. You know, like this. There's so many ways to make a relationship work, even if the characters are opposites. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else with any other brain picking things? Yes, Kristen.
Okay. This question would also be going out to Sage and Hyde. But how would, or at least I'm kind of thinking about what would be safe or good to include satanic imagery, because especially since I was looking at the Blackcraft stuff that Jojo had mentioned, and noticed a lot of pentagrams, and basically I have my Baphomet pendant that I've had in those two promos, but given the climate going on, would that be a good idea to maintain or just not include for the time being?
Here's the deal. It goes back to that thing about own it, but make it yours. It's really easy to study and look at everybody and go, well, everybody seems to be doing that. Or, you know, oh, in this climate, is that a good thing to do? Now, parallel example, we just had the speaking out thing happen in wrestling. Is everybody familiar with that? I don't want to speak above everybody where you're kind of, okay, so during COVID times, just to catch everybody up, and you can go back on Twitter and look on hashtag speaking out. Basically the wrestling community within called out a lot of really inappropriate male wrestlers for their inappropriate behavior in locker rooms and otherwise. And it really kind of reshuffled the deck in a way of like, we don't allow that kind of behavior anymore. So no more inappropriate grabs and, you know, come-ons and dick pics and like unsolicited advances and da-da-da-da. They're like, no more of this. We're done. And that's why all those wrestlers, the David Starrs and the you know, Marty Scrolls and the Joey Ryans and all these people that, you know, I don't have any allegations against them, so I can't say they did it or whatever, but at the end of the day, there was a lot of calling out the behavior that happened. Dom Kubrick plays a very pervy character who makes sexual advances at you and plays grab ass and pinchy boots and sniff crotch and licks you and licks your hand. And obvious question, you probably already know the answer. Do you think that would be a good character to keep going during the time when everybody in the wrestling community is going, stop being pervy and freaky deaky and unsolicited, and you've got a wrestling character who's doing that? Do you think that's a good thing? Culturally, probably not right now. And I even had a conversation with Dom. I was like, maybe we need to tone that down. And funny enough, I literally had a conversation when we first started. I said, be prepared to have to change that character because that may not last. Not by my own doing, just letting you know that there may be a shift in the world that may not allow you to be licking people without them allowing it and planting kisses on people. You know, I've heard 2 reviewers call it sexual assault. So in the same way of, is it a good thing to be satanic, or is it the right time, blah, 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 blah. There's a plenty of evil, dark, Bestia 666. There's all these evil, dark wrestlers who just own it. Because guess what? There's an audience for it. So it's almost going back to that, like, what do you want to be genuine for yourself and actually own the satanic part of it? Or do you want to placate the audience to make sure you're not offending people? Sometimes the most memorable characters did something because they offended you and they made you hate them and they made you fear them or whatever they do. Rubber Baby and Leather Daddy from WPW. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's fine. But like, right, you know, Randy Myers from Canada does the same thing, but he asks consent first. Like, I don't think the satanic religious thing, don't overthink it. But make it your own. Right? There's that, what you call it? I just blanked. I completely just blanked. There's Dark Light Clothing, and there's Blackcraft, and there's also the one that just came out, and it is, I'm blanking on it. But everyone's getting into their own goth, dark, evil, da-da-da-da-da. Again, you can do that. Just make it your own. Make Heidi your own. It can be as dark or satanic or ghoulish, or, I mean, maybe even go on a deeper end. Everyone goes right to Satan. Maybe you should look up some other weird pagan gods that nobody really knows by name. Do some Norwegian death metal studies and find out the name of some Norse god that everyone fears. I mean, when I went to Japan, I found out that there's something about, they don't celebrate Halloween, but there's this like ghost horse that shows up or something like that. Like, it's a half a body of a horse, and like, be weird about it. There's all those there you go, bro. Instead of doing Satan, you should do Lilith, right? I mean, Bray Wyatt came up with Sister Abigail, right? I mean, come up with your own evil. Come up with your own evil. Elena Black is out there being evil, and she's carrying a little mini wood coffin, and she's trying to tell tarot cards. I mean, she's clearly doing well. She got a couple, spots at AEW. She's a big Chicago wrestler. She wrestled, Heather at Primetime Live. I have a lot of character ideas for her because I feel like she's very hot topic. She's not there. There's I'm evil, but I want it to be unique evil for her. She's kind of playing evil right now. Does that make sense? But she'll get there. She's young. She's very young. She'll get there. It's, again, development and layers. Somebody in a creative sense, if they really want to use her, will absolutely add layers to her. I guarantee Aleister Black did not start as Aleister Black, as gloomy and dark and coming up off of a stage and, oh God. He didn't own all, he wasn't born with all those tattoos. Right? Yeah. Abaddon. Right, start studying the satanic verses, the satanic Bible. I mean, find a name, Azeroth, and like, study it, make it your own. Look at that. See, I'm telling you, you can make it your own, because not everybody just, again, it's like Family Feud. Top 3 answers to the bird. What's evil? Bing, Satan. 2, Lucifer. 3. Demigod or demons. I don't know what else. Like, they don't know all these like weird, interesting. You definitely, again, you have that Sweeney Todd, British, like, dark corner, jagged knife, swirly knife, evil character going. Study European evil gods that not Americans don't even know about. There's your unique angle that you can come off with education and sounding way more important, because you're not just going Satan. Right, there's so many ways to make things evil, and there's so many party tricks to do, like flame things, and like, you'll figure it out. There's a whole world of evil. Anything else? Anybody else? Yes, Matt Wall.
Yeah, like I was wondering, what is the, I guess, proper etiquette for when you want to start pitching things to people higher up?
It goes into that read the room thing. If you barely know the person, you don't want to just blast their DMs. You pitched something really great to me. I apologize I didn't get right back to you on it. I literally was busy this weekend in Palm Springs and I had to work and I just didn't sit down and digest it and start tree branching in my head. I did like what I saw, but I just didn't get back to it. So my apologies. I hope I didn't make you feel self-conscious about that.
No. I just didn't know if it was like a thing where if you go up to bookers or something like that and start saying like, hey, I'm thinking about blah, blah, are they like, well, I'm not going to wrestle your match for you, so don't tell me how to do my job. Like, what's
right.
the...
It's the presentation of your idea. Obviously if I said to you, hey, Matt, hey, Death Calhoun, here's what you should do. You should totally do this thing. And then you should do this. And then you should do this other thing that I thought of. And I have a brilliant idea. You should do this thing. And I feel you should do it. That's awkward and uncomfortable and very pointy. And you should do it. You language, right? But if you just go, hey, Death Calhoun, hear me out. I'm just going to throw an idea on a wall. Something that I came up with. You can use it, you cannot, but I literally was like, wouldn't it be great? And just pitch it. It's called not being married to your ideas. Because, again, it may work or it may not work. The person who's accepting the idea may go, not my speed, or whatever. Also be ready to take no for an answer, or no, it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work. There are things I've had in Idea Land that I thought were great for a story, but because I didn't ask perspective from others, I didn't realize that I was writing a story that it had the right, you're in the right direction, but it's to this. And then I bounced it off somebody else and yeah, that's too you focused. Make it about this. Oh God, yeah, you're right. So that ties into the being open to ideas, even though you're willing to give them, right? Again, read the room. Like when I first showed up to Hollywood, I didn't walk around and I didn't even know who was writing or who was on the creative team. So I didn't walk around going, hey, I got an idea for you. Halston Body. I just was Halston Body and I presented that out online to everybody and I had all these other indie shows. So the people that were in the locker room at Hollywood were vaguely or fairly familiar with me, and they knew, and especially with the Santino Brothers people, because I was at the Santino Brothers shows. So now Nick Bonanno, who's head guy at Hollywood as far as the running of the show, I've worked with that guy for now 2 years. Of course, I have much comfortability with being, hey, Ref Nick. Hey, Nick. What's up, Daddy Nick? Tell me. I got an idea for you. He's like, sure, tell me, right? Read the room as well. Maybe some people just aren't into creative wackadoodles like us. I mean, some people are just like, I'm full of ideas. I can come up with ideas all day and sit in a pitch room and be like, how about this? How about this? How about this? And other people are like, they're not thinking wildly creative. That's part of your ego that you got to make sure you check as well. Not everybody is as creative as you are, as I sometimes say. And it's okay. So yeah, just read the room, be polite and be respectful. It's really, you can't go wrong. I always say this too, worst they can say is no. I've never heard somebody go, I got this idea. I'm going to punch you in the face until I break your nose and watch you bleed. That's not, or I've never said I got this idea. What? That's the worst idea ever. And I don't ever want to see you in this wrestling building again. That's never going to happen, unless you're coming on something so bizarre that people are like, what? Who the fuck are you? What are you doing? What do you mean you're going to shoot heroin on stage? What are you talking about? No, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's really the basis of it. And yes, I am going to get to your idea because I did read something. I was like, oh, just got to figure it out. Gotta see where that would wedge in. That's the other thing too. Sometimes the idea isn't. That's the other part of like coming up with ideas and not marrying to them. They may not work right then. They may need time to, gestate and grow and, marinate that meat. Let it sit, let it rest. You'll see wrestlers do this backstage, by the way. I've seen Heidi do it. I've seen other people do it. Heidi, I don't know if you've done this as well. You're pitching ideas with your wrestler or the booker or whatever. And I've done it myself. Let's let it marinate for a bit. You walk away from the conversation where you're bouncing that ball back and forth and you're not really sure because you got to let it settle. Got to let the dust settle in your head and the ideas kind of bounce and come back down to the floor. So I literally had to like walk away from people or we've separated, be like, let's get back to that. Let me let it marinate and see what else comes up because not all the ideas just pop up in your head. And maybe 5 minutes later, you're like, oh God, wait, there it is. I thought of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's 9:00 and I would love to stay another hour, but Mama's hungry. And so, I mean, if there's any other questions now, please ask away. Yes, I got 2 more. Melody.
I wanted to ask, what would you say for me to like improve more because of the videos that I posted?
A, keep doing them. B, if you need continual coaching, do not be afraid to send them to me. Hey, Bob, I did this promo. What do you think? How can I improve it? It may be I need better writing. It may be I need better emotion. I need to pull this out of me. I'm here to, again, I'm always available. If anybody needs to throw an idea on the wall, I love to just be like, yeah, try this, do that, try this better. Maybe try this. Don't be afraid. Also, again, study other promos, study how other people do it. You may not just be able to do it yet, but there's 3 principles of learning, right? There's people who can read this manual and put together this cabinet. I need the IKEA thing and I need to go page by page and read how to do it by words or whatever. There's other people who can learn by just watching. I want to watch you do it. And let me see how you do it. Oh, you're holding it that way. Okay, you're doing it that way. Oh, okay. And then, you move to the left. Okay. It's like people who can watch dancers and see how they pivot and da-da-da-da-da. And then there's other people who just need to do it. They need to just get their hands dirty and, yeah, I'll fix this car engine. I just need to unscrew this and get into there and not be afraid. Different layers of learning. So how you develop and how you learn better, go with what you know. If you need to soak it in like a sponge, watch, just soak hours of promos and interstitials and whatever you need to study it, do it. Indie promos, WWE promos, AEW promos, just keep studying. If you just need to keep throwing shit on the wall, keep making promos. Send them. What do you think of this one? This is what my angle was. Da-da-da. Or even don't even tell me. Just be like, here's this promo. Let me see if I can guess or figure it out. And then be like, what were you talking about? You know what I mean? Who knows? But again, don't stop practicing. That's the biggest one. Don't stop like, oh, I did a bad promo, so I better stop because I can't figure it out. You're going to have bad promos. Again, it goes back to that principle. Every time if you've never played baseball, you've picked up a bat, you're being pitched to you the first time, softball even. Did you hit a home run every time? Yep, here's your first pitch, home run. Next one, home run. You're going to strike out every once in a while. It's okay. That's how you learn. Cool? Fair?
Got it.
Keep doing the work.
Thank you.
And who else? I think that, I was going to say, Sasha, the squares moved because people went out. So Sasha, yes, you had a question.
Hello. So
Hello.
me and Taylor are working. Taylor, she's somewhere here. We're working on a clown tag team type of deal. And so we're trying to figure out a dynamic, but one that, because when we were first kind of going with it, I'm small. And so my whole thing is fucking huck me. Like I'm pretty much
Spike Dudley.
Yeah. Throw me. And I like to be small, but big attitude. but I love Taylor's promos, and she has a big presence that I don't want to be, that I need forward with me. So do you have any advice on dynamic that can be, we want to be clowns in the way of, and watching my promo after, what I really wanted not to do was do a whole Harley Quinn thing. We want to be more jokey and more fun and
So Doink the Clown level.
yeah. Well, have you ever been to the Renaissance Fair at the
Yes.
Dam? I
Yes.
don't know if you ever seen the Washwell wenches, something like that. Like
Right. Has anybody been to Cirque du Soleil?
years
Right.
ago.
There's a prankster mime that will like take you to your wrong seats and like pretend to accidentally spill water on you and be like, oops, like it's goofy, like it's Charlie Chaplin-esque and it's very mime-esque. Think about those street performer type clown where it's like they're not actually, because there's so many, I can name four types of clowns right off the top of my head. Children's birthday party clown, aka Doink. Harlequins, right? The ones that are just like mimey mannequin types that are just there. They have ribbons and they have like porcelain masks and they're kind of clownish. There's evil clown, twisted metal evil, like the Rob Zombie level of clown. There's juggalo clowns, right? There's juggalo clowns out there. So many layers you can peel away. There was a guy, there was Jester the Jekyls. Jester the Jekyls at the AWS show I saw cracked me the fuck up. He was a jester. He had the 3-pointed hat. It was black, white makeup. I think he had like a tier, but he also had just like thin white things. Very tall guy. I don't remember if he was I think he was shirtless, but then he had like just black tights. And what he would do is when he came out, he would just come up and like walk up to people and just stand next to them and stare at them or look at them and just stay stone-faced and just be like, kids, no joke, kids were crying. They were so terrified by this guy. And he didn't say a word and he didn't spit blood and he didn't go. He just was like, and you're like, oh, fuck, he's looking at me. Like, so, it's easy to just go clown. Your brain goes to clown, but you can think about little layers. And then, of course, if you're small and you're like, she's taller or there's that dynamic just visually of size, there's that whole Napoleon complex where you're the big talker who's going to start the fights and she's like there don't like you can play that dynamic where you're the one causing the problems because you got the big mouth and she's the more stoic one. Or if you're both trying to be funny clowns or being goofy clowns, you're going to clearly have to learn how to work with each other and create dynamics that maybe you create a trick that involves both of you with balloons there's so many ways to like create your dynamic and how you operate with each other. Again, think about Laurel and Hardy, Abbott Costello, Three Stooges. Mo was in charge. He was always the leader. Curly was the fuck up, and Larry had to be in the middle of it and always got pulled into the Curly side. You got to think about how they work with each other and what makes the dynamic. Usually with two people, there's always a leader, unless you guys are like the Iconics, where it's like, we're just besties. Just play with it. Again, you're in the molding clay phase. I guarantee you the first clown thing you do will completely change a year later. But try things. I have, if you want, I know how to make balloon hats and know how to source clown balloon making professionally. I took 2 professional classes on how to do that.
I'm actually a children's clown. My clown name is Tater Tots, and that back there, right there, is actually my balloon belt.
Yes! Mwah! Magic. By the way, that ties into something very interesting and funny. We're all very wrestler. We're all very promo. We're all very talker. We're all very make sure we have outfit, right? We're trying to figure out wrestling on the base level here, and how to operate and how to be a human being and an adult in the wrestling world and all these things. Pick skills. Find new and different and interesting, weird, stupid human tricks, different languages, random I know how to juggle. I know how to make balloon hats. I speak a little bit of German because I took years of it in high school, but I don't remember half of it. Figure out weird horseback riding, weird in the acting world on resumes. If anybody's been an actor and has an acting resume, usually on the bottom, there's this whole paragraph of like skills, and it's tennis, croquet, badminton, knitting, random things, because in acting world, if they need to cast you as the grandma who knows how to knit and sits in the chair, maybe it'd probably be helpful if you actually knew how to knit so they didn't have to teach you or make it look inauthentic, right? Play guitar, play bass, drums. Would you play an instrument? I mean, come on. What's his face? Austin Creed has a trombone and knows how to play a trombone and suddenly became a trombone in wrestling. Right? I have a fan. I know how to do fan stuff. And I mean, there's people with the flags that know how to do like poi and all. I mean, there's so many fun and interesting skills and hobbies. I mean, Cyberpunk Ninja, he knows how to parkour and probably skateboard. And Darby Allin knows how to skateboard. These things can play into a character or eventually be a necessary skill that somebody, you might be, again, the bag of holding. I know how to juggle. You do? Great. We need a juggler. You know what I mean? You never know what weird skill may come out of your bag of holding that a booker or promoter or somebody who's needs a new aspect of your character is going to be like, holy fuck, you know how to do that? Yes. I can balance a pole on the top of my finger and, look at the top and carry a long stick and, weird random things that people do. I clearly know how to decorate and rhinestone and create crafts. They didn't make me. I offered my skills as somebody who can work my way around a Michael's craft store, and they made me, I created the Halston body bag for the body bag match. And it was me and industrial glue, rhinestones, and felt, and I was making it cute, and it ended up on TV because I know how to craft. You never know. You never know. I know how to paint on canvas. I know how to do acrylics and watercolor. I guarantee you in this 2021 on my wrestling list, I'm going to paint a big, large painting of Heather Monroe and or me. And maybe it'll be a prop that gets destroyed. I don't know, but I know how to paint, so I might as well use it for something. It could end up being something. Maybe if I pitch it out, yeah, hey, Heather, I got this idea. Instead of me coming out the fan this time, I'm going to do an honor thing where I literally carry a canvas painting of you. Like, who knows? I mean, there's so many skills and things you can learn. I mean, you were talking about being evil and somebody brought up tarot cards. It's great if you think tarot cards involve some sort of spirituality or evilness or whatever you want to conjure up with the word tarot cards. But, you should really, if you really want to make tarot cards part of your props or part of your character, you should really know how to do tarot cards. You should really know how to do them because somebody is going to bust your balls. Like they're going to be like, what do you mean the Three of Cups is about? What are you talking about? You don't even know what those mean. You don't even know how to place the cards on the table to read them for people. You don't even know the order in which this is the future and this is the past and this is the present and this is what, you know what I mean? So you never know. Get curious about the world. Get curious about life and skills and stupid things you never know. Because again, it always comes down to you never know what you might need or might have to pull out of your hat someday and somebody's going to go, oh, brilliant. Zicky Dice took a bunch of magic lessons and he knows how to like spit like those streamers out of his mouth. David Arquette had hand streamers when he came out as a wrestler, and he spit out these hand streamers out of his hand. I created a thing where I know how to put tinsel confetti in my fan, fold it all up, and for big pay-per-view moments or big events or big shows. I don't do it every time because I don't want it to get watered down and have to have everybody clean up confetti every show I'm at. But when it's important, I put confetti and like silver confetti in here. When I pop this fan, it explodes everywhere. And it looks like a Kiss concert, right? There may be a day where I want to increase that volume and come out with a confetti cannon like Johnny B. Bad used to do and have that big confetti stick that would pop out. I don't know. There's so many possibilities. I want to be like China one day and come out with that fire cannon and shoot like fire bombs into the sky with that giant arm bazooka she had. I mean, come on. If you're going to be on TV, give them a show, right? If you're going to be on camera looking at an audience, give them something to look at. I'm reading all right. Anybody else? Any other questions? Any other things? Yes. Hannah.
All right, so I kind of want to I'm really into intergender matches, and I really wanted to try and see, maybe, hopefully, praying in the future that I could try and win a men's title. You think I'm gonna get shit for that? Or cause I mean, I don't really give a fuck, but I know that there are some marks that are ugh.
Here's the deal. On the indie scene, I mean, we all go, it's fine. On the indie scene, intergender wrestling is plentiful. It happens. I've seen plenty of matches, and bar wrestling had a lot of intergender matches, and we had Ruby Reyes versus Bateman. If it makes sense, shouldn't be a problem with it. If you're just out there to prove something, if you're just out there going, I could be a man, and you're actually trying to show up the men, that of course that's going to give you heat. I mean, people are going to be like, why is she being so aggressive about this? But if they saw you like a Ruby Reyes, I mean, it's like Nia Jax or the size in China, I mean, do you think Alexa Bliss should be going against Roman Reigns? Kind of weird, kind of this is kind of different and weird. I mean, just on a level of Roman's gonna kill you. But if it became the David versus Goliath story, could be interesting. Something that, I mean, clearly people who love underdogs and people who are going to fight for women are going to be kill Roman Reigns. But again, it's got to make sense, and it's got to have an end game to it. If the booker and promoter actually wants to put the Universal Championship on you because they want to prove a point, they will write the story and give the people, give it the storyline that it needs to get you to that point. But I don't know. It's again, at the end of the day, it all has to make sense. It can't just be, we're just doing this just to do it. It has to be, yeah. There's promotions that have genderless. There's promotions out there in wrestling that don't have a men's division and women's division. It's just anybody who can take the title. It's just got to make sense. It really does.
Also, I believe there's an intergender title, isn't there?
Yeah, there is an intergender title out there. Yeah, I was gonna say, there you go. Kristen said there might be promotions that don't allow intergender matches because they don't have other female wrestlers. So again, but the funny thing is too, you can almost create a character that's maybe that's your character is I only fight men. Right? It's the opposite of the Andy Kaufman thing. Did everybody study the Andy Kaufman story? Does everybody know about Andy Kaufman? I highly recommend studying Andy Kaufman's wrestling career because it was a work. Everybody who knows it is going, oh my God, yeah, that story. But if you haven't studied it or heard about it, look it up. It is before the internet and before people could figure it out on their own. It was the biggest work ever. And this comedian, who is a scrawny guy, was I'm the women's champion. And he would demean women and beat women in local town. until Jerry Lawler finally stepped up. And then it became like, how dare you? I'm the women's champion. Like, it was this total work, but he got people so angry. Oh man, dude. It got to the point where like there was like a slap punch on David Letterman on TV. And the crowd went, like, everybody who was watching is like, holy shit, this is real. These dudes are really, like, it was a work. It was such a work, but it was so brilliantly done. It's still talked about. They make movies about them. I mean, it was the most brilliant thing ever. So, yeah, think about that, like, on a level. Look at it, wrestling. Look at it. He's got a poster, Kaufman versus Lawler. Look at that poster down there, Maxwell. Study it. It's great in the ways of, like, how to believe and own a character to the point where the lines are blurred. You're not sure if this guy is for real. This guy is such an asshole and a heel that you're like, God damn, like, woo. All right, we're 20 minutes over 9 o'clock. Any other questions? I'm not pressuring you. Literally. Maxwell.
Not a question. I'm just a very sappy person. I very much appreciated having you in the class, and you've helped. Like I remember when we stayed after the first time, and you like completely made me rethink my whole wrestling character, parts of my life, parts of the things I used to see. So really, yeah, exactly, the perspective. So it was just it's been a very helpful thing, and I will definitely message you in the future. And I hope one day I get to work with you. I want to manage against you. I think that'd be amazing.
You know, the world is yours. I don't know. You know, it's so funny too, because like you think about that, like even though it's not a direct line, like I'm gonna be a manager. Like there may be a reason why I might be like, Halston Body needs like a guy in a wheelchair to use as a prop so he doesn't get hit. Like, you're my glasses. You wouldn't hit a guy with a friend with a wheelchair, would you? Like, I mean, you never know. Put it on the vision board. It could be an idea. That's the other thing too. That's why I talk about not marrying ideas. It's not because you should let go of your ideas. It's because while they may not work right this minute, again, that bag of holding, I got an idea. Because again, people get stuck creatively. Even the most brilliant creative minds out there who are people you respect in the business or people who you think are creative, they all get stuck. They all get creatively frozen on something, and they need like somebody to like shine the light on it or change the direction of where they're thinking. Oh God, yeah, you're right. Right. I get it myself. I get stuck in an idea and I go, I think this is the path. And then somebody throws like some different seasoning on it. I'm like, oh, that tastes completely different. Thank you. So yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and thank you, Coach Rob. Thank you.
I'm here for you, my babies. You're my wrestling babies. Oh, the love. Go on. No, go on. No, go on. No, go on. No. Yeah, thank you all. Please do not be a stranger. I'm going to try my best to try to get in on the promo battle stuff or other classes just to be aware and be around. But again, do not be shy. If for some reason, and I'm dumb about this because sometimes my brain doesn't connect the dots, if you have tried to friend me on Facebook, but for some reason I have not added you yet, and it may be because I don't know that it's you. Does that make sense? Some people have like Facebook profiles that are ducks and kittens, and I'm like, I don't know who this is. So if you've tried to friend me and I've ignored your friend request, DM me, send me a message. Hey, knock, knock, I'm here. All right, guys, have a great rest of your week. I definitely hope to hear from you soon. See you soon. We'll try to get on those promos. Have a lovely evening. Thank you all.
Thank you, Coach. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, everyone.